Good morning. Welcome to our June 2nd Planning Commission zoning hearing. We will go ahead and get things started, and if you could please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I will go ahead and call our June 2nd meeting to order. We have several cases before us this morning. I'll go ahead and turn it over to Mr. Peterson to get us started.
And thank you, Madam Chair and Board. Today's hearing will be conducted with the following process and procedure. Each case will be called in numerical order. When the case is called, we would ask that the applicant please stand and raise their hand to show that they are in attendance. Then after that, we're going to call to see if there's anyone here opposed to that specific case. And we would also ask that the opposition please stand and raise their hand so they can be counted for the official record. After recognizing both parties will come forward to be sworn in. The applicant will testify first, and then the opposition, if any, will testify second. It's important to note that each side only gets 10 minutes to state their case or concerns. There's not a rebuttal process, and there's not a process to reserve your time. So please convey all your information to the board within your 10-minute time period. Additionally, if there's more than one person here wishing to speak on a case, you may want to coordinate with each other about what you're going to talk about, because each side only gets 10 minutes, and you don't want to cover the same information over and over. Then the board will start to discuss the case at hand. From the discussion, they may ask one or more speakers to come back to the front for additional comments or questions. Then the board will make a decision to either approve, deny, hold, or continue the matter at hand. On today's agenda, there are a number of cases that have been continued by the staff or the Planning Commission, and these cases will not be heard today. First case is rezoning case Z13 of 2026, Presswood Companies. This case was continued by the staff until the July 7th, 2026 Planning Commission zoning hearing. So Z13 of 2026 will not be heard today. Rezoning case Z17 of 2026, Hyro Marilla. This case was continued by the Planning Commission until the July 7th, 2026 Planning Commission zoning hearing. So Z17 of 2026 will not be heard today. Rezoning case Z21 of 2026, Branch Acquisition Company, LLC. This case was continued by the staff until the July 7th, 2026 Planning Commission zoning hearing. So Z21 of 2026 will not be heard today. LUP 6 of 2026, Tasha Tolbert and Alicia Steele. This case was held by the Planning Commission until the July 7th, 2026 Planning Commission zoning hearing. So LUP 6 of 2026 will not be heard today. LUP 12 of 2026, Juan R. Vasquez. This case was continued by staff until the July 7th, 2026 Planning Commission zoning hearing. So LUP 12 of 2026 will not be heard today. And finally, SLUP 6 of 2026, Wollaston Enterprises LLC. This case was continued by the staff until the July 7th, 2026 Planning Commission zoning hearing. So SLUP 6 of 2026 will not be heard today. Madam Chair and Board, I did get a request for the applicant's attorney for rezoning case Z1 of 2026, Francisco J. Garcia Sanchez. The applicant did retain an attorney about a month or two ago, and they're still working on a revised site plan. So the applicant has asked that the board continue this case until your September 1st, 2026 Planning Commission zoning hearing.
Okay, thank you. That sounds good.
So we need a vote on that.
We do need to vote, okay?
Make a motion to continue said case until September.
Second.
We have a second for Commissioner Bloin. Any discussion? Call the question. Okay, and passes 4-0 to continue Z1 to September.
All right, thank you. And moving on, before we begin the consent agenda, I do have a couple more announcements. If you have a cell phone, please turn the volume off on your cell phones. When the phone rings, it doesn't interfere with the broadcast presentation, so please turn the volume on your cell phone off. And I want to remind applicants, opposition, or any interested party that information is due to this board the Wednesday prior to this hearing date, and any information submitted after the Wednesday due date may or may not be considered by the board at their discretion. And with that, Madam Chair and Board, I'm ready to start the consent agenda.
Okay, please proceed.
Cobb County Planning Commission zoning hearing consent agenda for June the 2nd, 2026. First case on consent is rezoning case Z19 of 2026. David Allison requests rezoning from R20 to R12 for an additional single-family residence in land lot 372 of the 17th District. The property is located on the northwest corner of Harold Avenue and Pat Mel Road. The Planning Commission recommends approval, subject to the following conditions. Number one, site plan received by the Zoning Division on April 2nd, 2026. Number two, Fire Department comments and recommendations. Number three, Stormwater Management Division comments and recommendations. Number four, Water and Sewer Division comments and recommendations. And number five, Department of Transportation comments and recommendations. The applicant is present. Is there anyone here opposed to rezoning case Z19? Okay, let the record show there's no one opposed. Rezoning case Z20 of 2026, Manor Restorations LLC, requests rezoning from R20 to RM8 for a townhome community in land lots 208 and 209 of the 20th District. The property is located on the west side of Greers Chapel Road, north of Barrett Lakes Boulevard. The Planning Commission recommends approval, subject to the following conditions. Number one, final site plan and building elevations to be approved by the District Commissioner. Number two, variances as stated in the zoning comments. Number three, letter of agreeable conditions from Mr. Kevin Moore dated May 22nd, 2026. Number four, Fire Department comments and recommendations. Number five, Water and Sewer Division comments and recommendations. Number six, Stormwater Management Division comments and recommendations. And number seven, Department of Transportation comments and recommendations. The applicant is present. Is there anyone here opposed to rezoning case Z20? Okay, so we have one person opposed. So we have one opposed, Madam Chair and Board, so we'll pull that one off consent and put it in its regular order. And during the break, we'll see if Mr. Moore can talk to the person who was opposed. So we'll pull that one off consent. All right, next case is rezoning case Z23 of 2026, 2997 Johnson Ferry LLC. Request a rezoning from GC to NRC for retail and commercial uses in land lot 539 of the 16th District. The property is located on the west side of Johnson Ferry Road, south of Waterfront Drive. The Planning Commission recommends approval, subject to the following conditions. Number one, site plan received by the Zoning Division on April 23rd, 2026, with the District Commissioner approving minor modifications. Number two, Fire Department comments and recommendations. Number three, Water and Sewer Division comments and recommendations. Number four, Stormwater Management Division comments and recommendations. And number five, Department of Transportation comments and recommendations. Is the applicant present? Is the applicant here for rezoning case Z23? Is there anyone here opposed to rezoning case Z23? Okay, we have two opposed and the applicant's not present. So we can try to call the applicant before their case is heard later on the agenda. Okay, so take Z23 off the consent agenda. So the only case left on consent agenda is Z19.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve the one case on the consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda as revised.
Second.
Okay, we have a second from Commissioner Bloin. Any discussion? Call the question. All right, and the consent agenda is approved. The revised consent agenda is approved 4-0.
Okay. Moving on to the held and continued part of the agenda. First case we're going to hear today is rezoning case Z12 of 2026, Dennis Tidwell. Request rezoning from R20 to RM12 for townhomes in land lot 870 of the 16th District. The property is located on the west side of Bells Ferry Road, north of Adair Drive. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to rezoning case Z12? Okay, let the record show there's no one opposed. Will the applicant please come forward to be sworn in?
Morning, sir.
Hey, good morning.
Welcome. Please state your name for the record, and you can begin. You have 10 minutes time.
Okay, my name is Dennis Tidwell. I'm here to represent the zoning case for 1471 Bells Ferry Road. It's in the CAC Bells Ferry corridor. My colleagues and I were here before you 2 months ago to present this project and to speak candidly about the ongoing challenges at the vacant parcel, specifically the entrenched homeless encampment, the repeated trespassing and constant burden of cleanup that has effectively become an illegal dump site. Since then, our western neighbor, the Cottages of Marietta, has continued to work with us to push the county to address drug activity, noise, campfires associated with these encampments. I believe that we all recognize that a stable, owner-occupied HOA community is the only long-term solution to these problems. I wanted to thank the board for encouraging us to defer last hearing. The additional time gave us an opportunity to refine the site plan, continue our conversation with our neighbors, and work closely with the county departments throughout the process. We are especially grateful to the zoning department's Cameron Jones and DOT department's Amy Diaz for their responsiveness and support, which have been invaluable moving this project forward. We took every department comment seriously and made the structural changes necessary to resolve nearly all outstanding issues. The key revisions since our last appearance includes the DOT deceleration lane. It was added and it meets all required standards. The driveway offset, we relocated to achieve 160 feet separation from the Tommy Novus driveway, exceeding that 125-foot minimum. The curb and gutter, we incorporated that throughout the plan as requested. The side yard setbacks, we redesigned the project to meet the 35-foot requirement, eliminating a need for a variance. The landscape buffers were adjusted to meet the 25-foot buffers on both sides with no variance. The impervious coverage was reduced to comply with the 45% maximum. The right-of-way dedication, we have agreed to deed the necessary portion of the property to accommodate the proposed 100-foot right-of-way. The only remaining variances relate to the front and rear setbacks, both are which typical and unavoidable when the right-of-way is being donated. To achieve these improvements, we had to remove one unit. The plan now includes 15 owner-occupied townhomes, all priced for workforce housing. It has been challenging, but we remain committed to delivering attainable homes for teachers, healthcare workers, retail employees, and others who serve this community. That community is the heart of this project. Cobb County faces a well-documented affordability crisis. This is one of the few workforce housing proposals that require no grants, no subsidies, no tax incentives, and no major infrastructure investment. The impacts are all positive. The schools are under capacity, stormwater conditions improve, traffic is minimal and predictable, far lower than the commercial alternatives. Ownership ensures long-term stability through a strong HOA. Public safety improves because the development will permanently eliminate the illegal encampments that currently burden the corridor. This is why our neighbors stand with us. We want to extend our sincere gratitude to Gladys Bayless, the president of the Cottages of Marietta HOA. She and many others in that community have become a central force in confronting the longstanding burdens we inherited when we purchased our property along the Bells Ferry corridor. While we are new to this fight, our neighbors at the Cottages have carried it on for more than a decade. Their resilience inspires us. We are proud to have their support and partnership as we work to finally stabilize and clean up this troubled parcel. We also want to thank Gary Osborne, president of the Village of Kendrick Farms HOA, and Evan D. Young of the Delcor neighborhood for their strong support of our RM12 rezoning application. The Bells Ferry corridor faces real challenges, but the homeowners, the community stakeholders who live here, it remains a valued and irreplaceable part of their daily lives. It deserves thoughtful, community-driven reinvestment. We believe that we would be good partners, and we are committed to delivering a development that brings meaningful and positive change. RM12 zoning provides the right transition, aligns with the adopted future land use vision, and most importantly, creates workforce housing that the corridor has needed for years. We respectfully ask for your vote to recommend approval.
Thank you very much, sir. Any additional comments for you?
No, that's all. I do have, I just received last night, Gladys has been recovering from surgery, but she was able to give us letters of support from the Cottages of Marietta. It's not in the document.
Okay, yeah, we can have those passed out to our commissioners. All right, thank you very much. Anything else you'd like to share or add? Okay, you actually probably can stand up there for just a minute more. We did not have opposition today present, is that correct? Correct. Okay, all right, so this is actually in District 2. There you go. This is in District 2, I believe. Yes, and Commissioner Michaeletto is not here today, so we're going to, in a sense, lead the discussion together. I did have a question for you before we get started, and then I'll turn over to Commissioner Bloin to ask additional questions. But can you walk me through just the changes? I know you mentioned several changes and updates you've made, and I appreciate you sharing that with us. Everything from decel lane and beyond. But I know the density was an issue the last time we talked. And I said an issue, meaning an issue from, we basically heard that as comments. Can you talk about how that's changed at all, if any, as far as the amount of actual, I would say, units and the size of units? Has that changed at all?
To be perfectly honest, on the architectural part, we haven't really gone beyond too much of a concept and a sketch. We are really waiting on the results of the zoning to spend the money needed to flush out
Okay.
the architecture. But what we have presented in the package previously reflects the materials and the quality that we're looking for. And the 3-story in the front, 2 in the back, kind of, I think that's going to remain. The density is the real sticking point. RM12, without RM12, RM12 would allow us to do 16 units, but because we try to work with the county and resolve just about every issue that they had, we had to remove one of the units to make it fit. So our new site plan shows 15 units, not the 16, but it doesn't really pencil out. We're trying to do workforce housing, which is 100% or 120% AMI. So our sales price is fixed. That's a #1 goal. We're trying to provide workforce housing for the first responders, teachers, healthcare workers who are priced out. It's a shame that a lot of people that work at that hospital drive in from Paulding County. The people that work in Cobb County most times don't live here because they can't afford to live here. So it's super important to us to have RM12. And I think after talking to the investors, RM8 wouldn't work at all. It would basically render this parcel the way it is today, a homeless encampment.
Okay. Thank you very much. Mr. Bloin?
Thank you. Mr. Peterson, where are we in terms of staff comments on this?
Commissioner Bloin, the staff recommendation would still be the same. It still would be for denial on the application.
Okay. Can you go ahead and comment again? And I apologize. I think we did this 2 months ago, but can you give me the zoning of Cottage Way or the project there that I know it's in the city limits of Marietta, but it borders 2 sides of this project?
Yeah, the Cottages of Marietta looks like it's zoned in the city of Marietta in a category that's similar to RA6 in Cobb County. So that one has a density of 5.33 units per acre. It looks like it was developed around 2001, 2002.
And if we allowed a similar zoning here at 1.4, not being a rocket scientist, that comes in somewhere between 9 and 10, is that
It's 10.7.
10.7? So would that be rounded up to 11?
Yes, sir.
And the staff recommendation was for RA6,
No, it's for denial.
just for denial. But there are conditions there, though, that would support a rezoning to RA6?
Yes, and 2 months ago, the board zoned the property at the corner of Bells Ferry Road and Dixon Road to RM8, but that one was only zoned RM8 because they needed the variances for setbacks and some other things. But that RM8 at the corner of Dixon is at 4.9 units per acre, so it's pretty low for an RM8.
To the applicant, I just see that you do have still have some R20 land adjoining this tract.
We don't own that property, sir.
I understand. Has any effort been made to acquire any of that property?
They've reached out to us, and I think it's for sale now for almost 200% of what we paid for our parcel. So even if we acquired it, we would not make the numbers work.
Welcome questions and input from my fellow commissioners.
Excuse me. Well, I don't think it's necessarily appropriate for the zoning question because you keep mentioning this affordability. I mean, can you tell us what your units are proposed at?
Yeah, the way that affordability is calculated is 100% of the AMI, the average medium income. And workforce housing, by definition, is 120% of that income amount. I believe those calculations for 2026 have come out, and I'm not sure if these numbers hold, but we're looking at the biggest unit being $499 and the smallest unit being $470, and that's based on a bedroom count and the maximum sales price. So to be able to offer that, that puts a ceiling on us that we can't do. And then when we're asked to make compromises, all that does is erode it pushes the cost up, but it keeps the sales price there. So anything less than RM12 would basically destroy the affordability. Either we'd have to do more of a luxury development, which Cobb County has a lot of that, or abandon the project altogether. So it's a vote against affordability, or it's a vote for affordability and workforce housing. We're unable to compromise on anything less than RM12. It would really kill the project.
At that price point, though, for 15 units at between $479 and $499, with workforce, is there a particular additional program that's going to come in and wrap some of that pricing down? Because really at that price point, I don't know that a lot of people would say that that would be affordable from that perspective. So I just was curious as to why that particular price point, and if there is a specific program that would defray some of that cost to make it a little bit more in the scope of what would be deemed affordable.
Unfortunately, Cobb County doesn't have a lot of affordability kind of programs. There are some out there, but it's not for workforce housing. This type of development reaches the people in the middle. They don't qualify. They may make too much money to qualify for affordable housing and these grants and these subsidies. So they're kind of left somewhere in the middle. And what it really causes is it causes the teachers, the nurses, the first responders, they're kind of left out. They can't, there is no grants or no subsidies that apply to them, yet the cost of housing continues to rise, and they have no product, especially no new product that they can have. And as a result, they have to commute, really far away. This is District 2, Eric Allen's district, and he's on record saying that density should be used as a tool, a surgical tool, on a case-by-case basis, but he believes that density is an answer to affordability. That's why we met with his office. We had a really good meeting, and we believe that our project is exactly what he was speaking about in his campaign when he was promoting workforce housing. But there isn't really too many examples of it in Cobb County, unfortunately.
Is there a certain percentage that you're allocating to workforce housing? Like, is there a certain percentage of the 15 properties that you're proposing?
100%.
100% of these properties will be workforce housing?
Yes.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Any additional questions for the applicant?
You've indicated you got a good price on this piece of land. Are you saying it's absolutely not possible or feasible to build this project at a density that is more consistent with staff's recommendations?
Yes, absolutely not possible. At 10 units, the per land unit cost would increase almost 50%. And right now, I don't understand the pushback. I mean, the pushback was we have to have a variance for the side yards. We have to have a buffer variance. We have to have all these issues. We've met all of it. So it's really coming down to an argument of, does the county want to increase density? And we're not asking for increase of density for density's sake. This is a particular project. This is a surgical use of density. So we'd feel like the vote is to kill affordability if it's to only keep density because there was several projects recently that were convinced to step down in density or to match the density across the road. Those projects may be fine and may pencil out because, you know, there may be 14 acres, I think, on Dickerson Road. That's a huge tract. But we can't divide our lot costs over several lots and make those numbers work. This is a small tract with a troubled history, and it's infill. It feels like this is what all advocates of affordability are saying needs to happen. We need to take troubled parcels and rezone them where affordability works. We believe it works, so we're not gonna be able to lower it and raise the prices or only let 2 or 3 families in at affordable rates and, you know, subsidize the others. We're not really interested in anything other than RM12.
Any other questions for the applicant? Okay.
No other questions, no.
I guess you can have a seat at this time. Thank you. So, you know, in my brief discussion with Commissioner Micheletto about this last week, while she was out of state, and perhaps others were not available at the time on this panel, her thought was this ask was too ambitious, and she was inclined to support staff comments, but she did ask that we move this along to the Board of Commissioners. So with that in mind, my recommendation will be for denial. But that having been said, I would just like to note that I would have far preferred to try to find some position that was worked a compromise between the applicant's ask and staff comments. But given what the applicant just said, my motion will be for denial.
Second.
Okay, we have a second from Commissioner Massey. Discussion. Any discussion? Okay, call the question. Okay, and the recommendation for Z12 is denial, 4-0.
Okay, next case we're going to hear is rezoning case Z20 of 2026, Manor Restorations LLC. Request rezoning from R20 to R8 for a townhome community in land lots 208 and 209 of the 20th District. The property is located on the west side of Greer's Chapel Road, north of Barrett Lakes Boulevard. The applicant was present, and earlier there was one person here opposed. All those who would like to address the board, either for or against rezoning case Z20, please come forward and be sworn in.
All right. Good morning, Mr. Moore. You may proceed.
Thank you and good morning, Planning Commissioners. My name is Kevin Moore. I'm here this morning representing Manor Restorations in this application for rezoning. This application involves 2.7 acres of property. You can see it identified on your screen. It fronts onto Greers Chapel Road. Greers Chapel Road is a road that runs between and connects Cobb Parkway and then connects back to Ernest Barrett Parkway. This property sits very close then to the intersection of Ernest Barrett Parkway and Cobb Parkway. And if you're familiar at all with this particular area of Cobb County, it's obviously a very intense area from a commercial, residential, and office standpoint. You can see where the property's location is on your screen. To the left, you'll see all the area denoted in red. Those are properties that are zoned general commercial. What's being identified and circled for you now on your screen is actually the CarMax that's located at that intersection. And then there's additional commercial activity, retail boxes and restaurants and so forth that are associated with that area. This property itself in Greers Chapel Road on your future land use map is within a community activity center. And so when he shows that, you'll see it's within a community activity center for this property. Greers Chapel Road is actually the dividing line between the community activity center that's focused on the Ernest Barrett Cobb Parkway intersection. Then you see the darker red when it transitions to a regional activity center that continues through the entire town center area of the regional activity center. So that's where this property is located in terms of its overall area. You'll also notice that that community activity center extends all the way through the entire basic triangle that forms between Greers Chapel Road, Barrett Parkway on the north side, and Cobb Parkway on the western side. This property, therefore, we're proposing to be rezoned from its existing R20 category to an RM8 category for development of 19 townhomes. You can see also, want to point out, within this immediate area, you have, matter of fact, you have RM12 that's been developed for townhomes. That's in the orange on the other side of Greers Chapel. You also have RM12 that are multifamily developments that have been a part of this general area and developed over the last, say, 30 years or so, as well as a very professional office complex that's likewise located in this particular area. I want to turn now to the site plans, now that you can see where this property sits and how it sits, and turn to the site plan itself to show you why we're proposing a townhome development here off of Greers Chapel Road. All right, now turning to the site plan. Again, Greers Chapel Road here. And it's a fairly straightforward site plan showing you the orientation of the proposed 19 townhomes. Again, to orient you, this is CarMax located here. And then Greers Chapel Road going north is Barrett Parkway, and going south is Cobb Parkway where it connects. This is somewhat of a mid-block type of property, so therefore, even while it's within a community activity center, it really doesn't present itself for any type of commercial or retail type of use. What it presents itself for is some of the other uses that are acceptable within a community activity center, such as what we are proposing here, which is residential for townhomes, to continue to add to the residences within this particular community activity center, regional activity center generally, the town center area, which contains a vast mixture of commercial and residential within this area. Also, as part of this plan, we have in place landscaping and fencing that will be used as buffer areas that adjoins existing residential homes. Please note, of course, that those existing residential homes, that while there are homes there, they are within a community activity center, some of which are actually zone GC as well. So not all of them, but some of them. So we have an area remaining here that is partially zoned R20, partially already zoned GC, but all within a community activity center. in terms of its future designations for development. We have submitted a zoning stipulation letter in which we have committed to and put in place what you see on the site plan, as well as what you would consider typical and more standard types of zoning conditions. So there is an established homeowners association. Part of our discussions leading up to this point is because we are proposing this to have the possibility for private streets, we have, in fact, ensured that there will be an appropriate study and that a developer-funded separate account for the future HOA to be able to maintain the private road. Even though you have a smaller number of homes, we want to make sure that that's properly funded from the beginning. What we'd also want to add to that is that the other items as well, which are the responsibility of the homeowners association, primarily which include the detention pond maintenance, as well as landscaping maintenance, will be the primary drivers of costs for that HOA in the future. And so we want to make sure those are included as part of that funding from the developer prior to turnover to the homeowners association, so that there is sufficient startup money set aside for the HOA in the future, which is a small change from our stipulation letter to make sure all of those items are included, not simply the road in terms of future maintenance by the HOA and funding by the developer at the initial stage. Again, this proposal and zoning application was reviewed by your professional staff and was recommended for approval based primarily, I believe, on the items that I just reviewed with you. The fact that it is in a community activity center, the fact that this proposal is consistent with the community activity center, and the fact that this proposal presents a reasonable development of the property in an area which is highly intense overall as well. I'm here to answer any questions that you may have and respectfully request your recommendation of approval subject to the stipulation letter with the small change that I made to the Board of Commissioners. Thank you for your time and consideration this morning.
Thank you very much. We also have someone in opposition. I believe you can go ahead and come up to the podium, please. Please state your name for the record, and you have a total of 10 minutes time to state any comments you'd like to state.
Consuela Davis. Okay. On his picture before, it didn't show Marietta Drive, but you can see Marietta Drive there. So, yes. So on this picture, where's Marietta Drive?
The bottom left, just off the bottom left.
Okay. Can you
Next
point?
number 19. Right there.
Okay, now go back to the other picture. So that's my property down there at the bottom where it says butt right. So that's why I was telling him that's at the edge of my property. So I'm still trying to understand how they building this, because if you come off of Grills Chopper Road from 41, well, Cobb Parkway 41, it's still the same. There's houses there to the right as soon as you go up, and there's a BP gas station they just built to the left of that house that's right across. And my house is the last house on the right at a dead end. So my thing is, where about is all this property, because the Matthews is straight across from us. So are y'all taking the Matthews property? Because you can see their property from Cobb Parkway. So you saying at the top is CarMax. So
If you could, ma'am, just for the sake of your time, if you could state your questions that you have, and then we could maybe allow the applicant to come back and answer them, but
Okay,
you wouldn't be
'cause
able to answer back and forth.
I'm just trying to figure out, yes, are you taking the properties, the other houses that's off of Grills Chapel Road as well? That's why I'm just trying to ask.
Okay,
if
so
he's-
just to make sure we understand your question, I think you're just saying, where is the property, what a property are you acquiring in
Yes.
order to build this particular area?
Yes.
Any additional thoughts, comments, questions, or concerns you have in relation to that?
Because if it's gonna be, my thing, I'm getting it is it's gonna be all around my property. Because how he's showing there at the bottom, that's the edge of my property. I don't know if this is coming back towards, it's supposed to be 41, that's down at the bottom, Cobb Parkway. But at the edge of my property, if that's what you're taking, that means he's taking the house that's at the bottom of where my property line ends. And then probably the houses that's on the other side, because my property line goes like this.
Okay,
And there's a house that's here that's been torn down, that's on Grills Chapel Road.
okay,
And then the house that's at the bottom, they have to take that because she don't, so that's what I'm saying. To me, this is going to be all around my property, this
Okay.
community.
any additional thoughts, comments, or concerns about if that were to happen?
Yes, because I mean, like I told him, our property taxes done went up and it's going to be more, and they got the BP here, so I'm just figuring out how this is going to work, and there's no privacy, but he said they have bushes or bricks or whatever laid up, but still, it's all around I have a feeling it's going to be all around my property.
Okay,
So there'll be no privacy for us, really, unless that wall is going to be like 12 feet.
thank you very much. Anything else? You still have additional time if you'd like to use it.
Well, yes, so as for like digging for, they have to have for plumbing, whatever, and I thought I read something about a reservoir, I don't know. So how that will affect us as well with the plumbing aspects I guess I'm trying to find out how they gonna build where, I guess the homes where they have to dig for the plumbing and whatever for that. That's why I'm trying to see if that will affect us as well
Okay.
with the county water service, basically what I'm saying.
Okay,
Okay.
all right, thank you very much. You can go ahead and have a seat. We may have to call you back up later. This is we've heard from applicant and opposition. This is in District 1, so I'll turn over to Commissioner Bloin to lead the discussion.
Thank you. And let me actually start with Ms. Davis, if you could come back for just a second. I'm sorry to make you get up again. If we could go back to the map that we had up just a
Yes.
moment ago, so
Okay.
I just want to clearly understand.
Well, we can go back to the other one also, because the one that has the red and the whereabout
Okay.
the property is gonna be.
If that helps. All right,
Okay, so that's Marietta Drive,
yes,
and what is the NRC?
yes.
So that's the end of, I guess, Marietta Drive, and that's my house, it's gonna be the last house that's on the right.
Okay. And so if we go back to the other map, the one we had up a moment ago, where it says now or formerly boat right, that's where your house is?
Yes.
Okay. And what discussions have you just had today with the applicant's counsel, if any, regarding your concerns or?
Well, he said it was gonna be a wall and it was gonna be trees or whatever, at the edge of my property. So that's what I'm seeing. If he talking about the edge, that means they taking the property that's right behind at the foot of my property. So that means they're gonna take the ones that's also on the side also. So it doesn't show, I guess, a good area of how my property is.
Okay, so this shows community landscaping between the new units to be built in the road and your property and a proposed privacy fence, and we can get details on that. Is there anything specific you are requesting regarding the height or any aspects of the privacy fence?
Yeah, but if it's gonna be a townhome community, even the people up high, how many stories it's gonna be, they could still see it, my property.
All right, well, why don't we find out from the applicant? Any other questions of the opponent, then we'll move to the applicant.
I do have a few questions. So that we can understand your concerns completely. Are you more concerned with the fact that there's development that's proposed, period? You're not wanting any development there? And/or are you wanting to have privacy from that development if it were built?
Yes, and then also with regards of the city water and stuff, how is that gonna be? Because, you know, sometimes that can affect other people's property. I don't know if they have to, you know, dig a certain, I guess I'm trying to see where about. So at this part right here at the end, is a road, like the little curvature
It sounds
part?
like what you're concerned about is how the construction process is going to impact your property.
Yes.
Is that correct? And I believe that we can ask the applicant some additional questions to maybe answer those questions for you. Also, just note that the county will do everything that they can not to interrupt your property with their construction. But if there is going to be some interruption, you'll be notified way in advance. But we can ask the applicant and we can find out, because I believe I saw him shaking his head no about acquisition of a couple of properties that you mentioned. So we
Yes.
can get some clarification on that. And if this were approved and we were able to get a buffer, meaning fence and landscaping, we know that we're not going to be able to,
Yeah.
touch from way up above, right?
Yeah.
But it will still give you the privacy that you want for your home in terms of looking out and looking in. If the applicant were able to do that, would that be something that you would be satisfied with?
Not really, because this is not really showing exactly how they're building from Greer Shopper and Marietta. Because how he's saying at the bottom of my property, that's what I'm trying to, that has to be the end of the property where he's talking about that it's gonna be at. So that's what I'm trying to figure out, because like I said, my
Is it
house
the
is like a
build
look.
process that you're specific to, or is it the actual finished product? That's what I'm trying to understand from you, because you're talking about the construction, which, it might be a little.
Yes,
then-
but I'm just trying to get clarification if it's gonna be all around, the whole thing would be all around my property.
Understood. Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Get your details.
No, thank you very much for coming up. Okay, I guess now we can hear from the applicant. The first thing that was asked, or one thing that was asked, was about any place where you're going to put a detention pond on the property. My presumption is that the property is going to be sloped to flow towards the detention pond.
Ma'am, I'm so sorry, you just can't speak out. Yeah, we want to make sure if you're on the mic, since this is recorded, and if you speak, we'll bring you back up if necessary, okay?
Commissioner Boulogne, I think you had a question. Just want to make sure I answer the right one.
Yeah. My understanding is your stormwater facility is at the opposite end of the project from where the opponent lives, and that you're going to slope the land so the water flows towards the detention pond?
Yes, so Ms. Davis's property is located right here on this one southern end. That Marietta Drive, which is the road that serves her property, terminates at our property line, and it actually dead ends closer to her driveway, so it's not really pavement to our property line here. Our detention and stormwater quality, and stormwater management is located on the opposite end of our project because it flows this way. That's also where sewer is located, is going this way. Off to our northwest is where we tie into sewer. So that's where at gravity, because that's where the tie-in for the sewer would be. And just while I'm here, to answer the question, the water line is in Greer's Chapel Road. And so we'll be tying into water on Greer's Chapel here. That's where that will be. Now, so from the utilities and stormwater, those are the tie-in locations.
So just to make sure this is clear, what impact, if any, would that be to her?
Sure. I'm going to put this one up, which may be helpful. Because it doesn't have all the colors on it. It's just a pure aerial. And this may be helpful as well.
Yes,
just
right,
for
yes.
orientation to help explain. All right, so this is the parcel that we're proposing for development of the townhomes. So it's just this parcel. Ms. Davis's home is this home here at the end of Marietta Drive. So this is her property here. There are some residential properties to the side of her that are fronted on Greer's Chapel. Those are not involved in this project.
Okay.
It's just this kind of L-shaped, upside-down L-shaped property here. So it only adjoins her, Ms. Davis, in this one location here, and we've proposed a privacy fence and a landscape buffer there that would be plantings, double row of evergreen trees, which is what's required under the ordinance and things like that, that the arborist ensures put in place, so it provides a full screening within 2 years. That's the standard that the arborist uses for the number of plantings that have to occur. So that's where we're talking about is the only location where we'd be adjoining her is Ms. Davis was just that one sliver here. So it doesn't come around her. Our water service will come off of Greer's Chapel, so up here, we're Greer's Chapel. We're not utilizing Marietta for access. Number one, it's not being utilized to make a water connection. It's not being utilized for a sewer connection, because again, the sewer goes back towards a connection across over near Carmax, so it's in the opposite direction.
Would you be willing to add that to your STIP letter to ensure that there isn't a mistake in access on that road in the process if approved?
Yes, we can add as a condition there'll be no access to Marietta, and further that all construction access will occur from Greer's Chapel Road, which I think is even more important.
Anything else as far as just impact for the community for the construction? Length of time for construction, just things to just also give comfort of what would be coming?
Sure. For a project of this size, the timeline of construction for once it's fully permitted and starts, which would be, I couldn't see this starting within the next, at the earliest, it's probably 6 months away by the time you close and do the permitting, probably closer to 8 months away. Overall development, before you start building on a project like this, some call it 3 to 4 months. It's not a large property. And then an additional year for the building of the townhomes. So, and then it'd be a completed project at that point.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. If you could comment on your willingness to put up some form of privacy fencing during the construction process, rather than just simply silt fencing, as pertains to this property on Marietta?
Yes. If there's a couple of requirements, we have to put up the construction and silt fencing. But we can, in addition to that, we do not have any issue with putting up, even if it's a temporary privacy fence in that one location during development and construction. We could agree to that. That would be along the property line, minimum 6-foot privacy fence along that shared property line just during construction. Then most likely they might even replace it afterwards. So it's because there's some other additional fencing they're going to do to make it newer. But at a minimum, it would be temporary privacy fence.
Okay, and then can we just pull up a topo while he's up here? Yeah. So she's sitting uphill, so
Yeah.
so there's not a big risk of runoff going towards her property. Is that fair?
That is correct. Her property sits uphill from ours.
Okay.
That's why everything goes towards that top left corner where the detention pond is shown on our property.
Okay. If anyone has any other questions for the applicant? Okay.
Thank you for
Thank
your
you.
questions.
Thank you.
All right. And unless my fellow commissioners have any comments or anything else to consider, I'll try to pull it together. So the motion is for approval, subject to all staff comments, subject to agreeable stipulations as noted in the stipulation letter dated, I believe, May 22nd, 2026, unless there's a subsequent letter. May 22nd, 2026. With these additions, the applicant is to cause a study to be conducted regarding the establishment of a sufficient reserve for the HOA in order for it to properly maintain and manage its roads, landscaping, and common areas. And the applicant is to provide the initial funding recommended by that reserve study. Additionally, both during construction phase and thereafter, there's to be no access to the project from Mary Ada Road. Additionally, there is to be, the only point of construction access is to be from Greer's Chapel Road. And the applicant is to provide temporary privacy fencing between the subject parcel and the existing single-family homes on Mary Ada Drive.
I second that motion.
Okay, we have a second from Commissioner Massey. Any discussion? Call the question. And Z20 is recommended for approval.
All right, next case on the agenda is rezoning case Z22 of 2026, The Haven at Eastside, Inc. Request rezoning from R20 to RSL for supportive and non-supportive residential senior living in land lots 793 and 863 of the 17th District. The property is located on the southeast corner of Lower Roswell Road and Little Road, on the north side of Friedale Road and the northern terminus of Lucky Court. The applicant is present. Is there anyone here opposed to rezoning case Z22? Okay, let the record show that 6 people here are opposed. Can I get a show of people here who are in support of rezoning case Z22? Please stand up. Okay, let the record show there's 16 people here in support of rezoning application Z22. All those who would like to address the board, either for or against, please come forward to be sworn in.
Okay, Mr. Moore again. Good morning again. Please proceed.
Thank you. Now we can go. Good morning again, Planning Commissioners. Kevin Moore again here on behalf of the applicant, listed as Haven at Eastside, but really this is Eastside Baptist Church, and I want to kind of explain what that relationship is. Eastside Baptist Church is a church that has been located at Lower Roswell Road for decades. It's one of our older churches and has been very well established in this area for a very long time. Eastside Baptist Church did a couple of things. Number one, they underwent a study trying to determine, as a church, ways in which they could potentially uplift their community. What does the community need? What are things out there that potentially could help the community, given the resources that they have, given the land that they have? And one of the strongest needs that came back, and we'll go into that in more detail, was to provide additional housing, senior housing opportunities, specifically primarily dealing with assisted living and memory care. in their immediate area. That immediate area being within 5 miles of Eastside Baptist Church. Ultimately, they conducted a full market study to determine is that a real need or demand, and we'll discuss that as well. But importantly for introduction, so that you can really understand the context of this application overall, the church formed a nonprofit 501c3 company. That's Haven at Eastside. It's owned by the church, a nonprofit company that would undertake the development, construction, operation, and maintenance of the hopeful development that you will recommend for approval that we're going to discuss today. So it would not simply be some for-profit development. This would be a development by the church through its nonprofit entity so that it serves not only as a community, meeting a community need, but also, importantly, we are dealing with Eastside Baptist Church, so certainly there's an outreach of ministry that's occurring as part of this. Turning to the site plan as we go through this, it looks somewhat odd because this is a large church campus. The church campus there on Lower Roswell Road at the top. Then you have Little Road, which is on the very far left-hand side that the church stretches. From that intersection on your top left to what used to be East Valley Elementary School, now a Catholic church on the far right, adjacent to what's identified as the soccer field. What we're proposing is for 8.65 acres of the church's overall 23-acre campus to be rezoned to the RSL category for, in the terminology in your zoning ordinance, is for supportive and non-supportive homes. The way we normally talk about that, as opposed to talking about it in a zoning ordinance, is for the purpose of building, and you can see to the kind of the right-hand side, the proposed assisted living. That would be an assisted living building consisting of a maximum of 95 assisted living units, which are a combination of assisted living and memory care units, as well as a maximum of 10 independent units within that building. That building would be full service, just like you would expect with assisted living and memory care, providing full medical care as well as dining facilities and amenities geared entirely for that population as well. It's important when you consider assisted living buildings such as what we're looking at here, the independent units, so to speak, that are in that building. So, well, why would that be? The primary users of those are couples, where one of the individuals of that couple needs assisted living, needs that level of medical care, but the other does not. Where do you live? You can live in a development like this where they can be in the same location, they can still dine together and live together, maybe not in the same room, but they're able to accomplish that, and that's a very important aspect to this. So you can see where that building's oriented and would serve. The big pond you see would be a stormwater management pond that would be located there, which will go to great lengths to assist in stormwater management in this area. There has been limited stormwater management given the age of development through this area. Residentially, it was developed many years ago. So there's limited stormwater management now. Now we have upgraded stormwater management, which will go a long ways overall. As you proceed further left to get to Little Road, you'll see we have proposed independent living. There we have 8 independent living cottages that we would add. Again, just adding another independent living component overall. Those would be limited and would be located there. They can certainly be paid to be, quote, a member of the dining facilities, but they're not required to in that location. But it just adds another independent senior living aspect to the overall program in which they're utilizing. All of this property is owned by the church. Importantly, too, on this site plan, you see the cul-de-sac that's called Lucky Court that comes up from Frydale Drive, which is along the bottom of this site plan. The church owns the properties and homes that are located at the end of Lucky Court, and so those are church-owned homes that are located there. So in our request and in the staff's analysis, you'll see we do ask for a variance request on the 40-foot buffer. It's only located in that area. The variance is limited to just where we adjoin it to existing homes on Lucky Court. It's only at that location that the variance applies, and I want to be sure to say this. Along our southern boundary, where you see the pond, and it's against residents on Frydale Road, We are not seeking a variance. There will be a full 40-foot buffer there, as a minimum 40-foot buffer located along that entirety. So that's the only variances that we're seeking, is the one variance associated with just the small area at the end of Lucky Court where the church already owns the property. So we're only impacting ourselves in that regard. Importantly, I think, too, for your consideration is, well, what is this going to look like? And the church has gone to great lengths with their architectural professional design firm, and you can see the level of architecture and what is really a beautiful building and a beautiful presentation of what they view as appropriate with the varying architecture, so that what is seen here does not look institutional, does not look like just a bland building. It looks like it could be somebody's homes. And very much so, that is the intent, to provide for really a stunning visual aspect just from approaching it. There's a couple of different views of it as we go through these. I also want to point out that within this category, there is a height limitation of 35 feet, which we are meeting. We are not requesting and are not requesting a variance to exceed the 35 feet in height for this project. I might remind you that the height limitation in R20, which is what the adjoining properties are zoned, is also 35 feet. A little bit of a overall kind of bird's eye view of the projects, that you can see kind of the orientation and how it will sit in view in terms of its overall project space and size. And lastly, I wanted to show you the actual, the cottages, the smaller independent cottages, senior living cottages that would be simply 8 of those as well. This is modeled and very similar to Sterling Estates, which was approved by the board and rezoned. It's further down on Lower Roswell Road, closer to this intersection with Johnson Ferry. And there's another Sterling Estates with the same general sense of it, though somewhat different, but general sense of having the assisted living and independent that's out in West Cobb off of Dallas Highway. Both of those received approvals as well. Back to the demand. As I said, this church undertook a private independent study with the marketing firm to understand what is the need. And what they did is did a complete study and dive down. It's very detailed, looking at what is the need. One of the first things they were identifying was that in Cobb County, our senior population just between 2022 and 2027 will increase by 17%. That's just 65 years of age and older. That mirrors our nation as a whole. For the first time in our history, in 2030, we will for the first time have more people in this country over 65 than we will under 18. So we are continuing that graying of America that's occurring. Now, specifically within 5 miles of Eastside Baptist Church, what is the demand? There's an unmet demand for senior independent living of 579 units by 2027. There's also an unmet demand for assisted living and memory care within 5 miles of Eastside Baptist Church of 894 units by 2027. That's almost 1,500 units of unmet demand. That's including everything that's out there today that is not being met between now and 2 years from now, or a year from now. That's incredible unmet demand that is sitting within 5 miles of this location, which goes to show you why we believe this is so necessary and so needed. One of the things I do want to touch on and make sure that this commission understands, and that those that are watching or here in the audience understands. There's always this concern with RSL because with it carries a higher density, so to speak, than other types of projects. Well, that's why within our RSL ordinance, these uses shall not be established as a precedent for any other residential or non-residential district. Approval of an RSL of assisted living, memory care, of independent units, or under any of its formats or methods does not set a precedent by ordinance. There is no density creep. There is no precedent whatsoever by ordinance. We can't sit up here, and I can't sit up here and point to this for another piece of property by ordinance. Lastly, in terms of our summary of support, we've demonstrated the very need for this type of housing. This application is consistent with your land use plan, and county staff has overwhelmingly recommended approval for this application. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moore.
Thank you.
At this time, we can have those that are in opposition. You'll have a total of 10 minutes, so to share, please know you'll need to share that time, but you can go ahead and make your way to the podium. If you could, before you start, for each person, please state your name for the record, please. Thanks.
Good morning, Madam Chairwoman, Commissioners. My name is Richard Crome. I'm speaking on behalf of East Cobb Civic Association. The applicant seeks to rezone R20 to RSL, introducing high-density residential into an area that is presently low-density residential. The site plan raises significant concerns about compatibility, density, long-term future of Lower Roswell and Little Roads area. First, the site plan creates two separate disconnected RSL developments. The applicant is attempting to fit both supportive RSL facility and non-supportive senior cottages into a site that simply does not position them as a unified community. The result is a 3-story supportive living facility on Lower Roswell Road and a separated cluster of cottages on Little Road. These two areas do not function as a single senior community. Residents of the cottages will have to drive or walk through parking lots to reach any amenities. There are no amenities within the cottage area itself. This is not a cohesive RSL development. It is two unrelated residential senior living projects stitched together on a constrained site. Second, the 3-story institutional building is incompatible in scale and massing and character with the surrounding single-family homes. Homes on Lower Roswell Road will see a sea of parking and then a fortress-like structure with no meaningful buffering. Homes on Fraydale, which sits at a lower elevation, will face what is effectively the rear facade of a 4-story building towering over their backyards. The density is of over 13 units per acre created by this proposal is not a modest increase. It is a dramatic escalation from the surrounding. Due to the time constraints, in conclusion, this is not one residential senior living community. It is two disconnected developments with densities more appropriate for a regional activity center, not a residential neighborhood. The proposal is incompatible in scale, density, location, and design, and it would set a precedent the county could not credibly deny in future cases. ECCA respectfully recommends denial. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Abby Schiffman, and I live at 171 Kenley Court in the Magnolia South subdivision, located at the corner of Lower Roswell Road and Little Road. I am one of the original owners of the 24-home subdivision. I want to thank the ECCA for letting us know about the zoning in advance, because as in the past, Eastside Baptist has not been forthcoming with anything they are planning that impacts the surrounding area until they must comply with the county rules regarding such. We received an invitation attached to our mailboxes on April 30th to a dinner to learn about this project on May 11th. Not much notice during an extremely busy time of the year. We have many questions. Why has the plan changed numerous times since it was presented to us, and none of us has been informed of such changes? We only know because the ECCA has done its due diligence and let us know, because I'm sure the individual owners, many of whom are here along Frydale and Little, have not been informed of any of these changes, especially the increased density of this project. Has the City of Marietta Water Department been notified so they can provide comments and have them entered into the record? Because I see none in the revised record under water and sewer, because we are under Marietta City Water and Sewer. According to the staff remarks, the increase of 426 vehicles per hour is extremely detrimental and is a major impact to the surrounding area. There is no commercial around this area. If you look at Park at Piedmont, located on Hood and Roswell Road, it's a 2-story community and has major thoroughfare on one side, a bank and shopping center on the other, and few homes that are impacted. The topography is a slope greater than the slope for this project. The same with Sterling Estates on Lower Roswell, which has a water treatment plant on one side and government center on another side, and it has a berm of sorts to block the view of Lower Roswell Road. This project will tower over the homes on Fraydale, as already stated. The staff comments regarding RM8 properties south of the property, that is much further down. It's not like a step down since it's not right up next to it. And the staff's comments regarding if the proposal would not cause excessive burdensome of existing streets, well, it must, if they're requiring all of the changes on Little and Lower Roswell to allow for the increase in vehicles per hour, that will come. I will get some of the other homeowners that are nearby, let them comment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, my name is Steve Wright. I live on Fredo Road, which is the last house, the bottom right on your plat.
Okay.
I've been asked to talk about the stormwater issue because it has become a problem as Eastside Baptist Church has continued to grow. Since 1984, when I moved in that area and built a house, Eastside has increased the impervious surface area quite a bit. The first was the building of the gymnasium, which is the white building there in the middle of your plat. Then they expanded a little bit more, building a school building, was just slightly below that. And then the major issue was a major expansion of their parking, which covers virtually the entire plat, except for the soccer field, which is to the far right on your plat. The issues with stormwater runoff are probably threefold: impervious surface, a change in topography, which they needed to do to build a soccer field, and the continued maintenance of the culvert and drainage system that leads to what is supposed to be a detention pond. The proposed assisted living facility will be in an existing parking lot, so it will not increase impervious surface area. However, they're proposed 133 parking spots, which is along Lower Roswell and continuing down beside the soccer field, and that will increase the impervious surface area and increase to the problem with the stormwater drainage. I know I have had to build a berm of about 3 feet high and 50 feet long at my own expense, renting a Bobcat to keep stormwater overflowing my backyard. 2 houses down, they have had to put in a French drain and a dry creek to move water which overflows from the parking lot. The county has had to repair the culvert, a storm drain that goes underneath Fredo Road, and they had to repair and improve the drainage there from the runoff of the detention pond. I think that some of these changes are going to increase the problem, and if you approve this project, then be sure to make sure that the detention pond actually works and that the water drains to it and not down through the backyards of the people on Fredo Road. And I try to do as quickly as possible so others can join.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Yuri Hale, and we live at 400 Lucky Court Southeast, which is right at the cul-de-sac. We share a property line with the church on the bedroom side of our house and the back side of our house. The church owns we own the property line at the church parking lot and 2 houses that the church owns. The traffic along Little Road and Lower Roswell Road are greatly increased with new residents, visitors, and employees. We are concerned about the dirt, noise, and debris during construction because the cottages would be built on the other side of our fence. There's a lamppost at the corner behind our house on church property that is on 24/7. It disrupts our sleep at night. Having new residents along our fence line will create more noise, more lighting, and will disrupt the peace in our backyard and our 2 bedrooms that are along the fence line. The environmental impact will be great where the new proposed pond will be. There are deer, owls, and other wildlife that will lose their homes. There will be fewer trees, so there will be more traffic noise coming from Lower Roswell to our community. The safety of our next generation is greatly concerning since we have 7 young children under the age of 10 in our neighborhood with a proposed new pond. The houses on Lucky Court Southeast and Little Road owned by the church were promised as a residential buffer between our house and between our neighborhood and was never zoned as a senior living 55+. We live next to one of the houses, and a house behind our house are owned by the church property. The decision of Eastside Baptist Church to tear down the playground in their property that children enjoyed for years is very sad. The new playground is inaccessible to the children in our neighborhood. That decision leaves us with little confidence that the church is concerned with our neighborhood to build a community. More noise, traffic, and residents and lighting will not be an improvement in our neighborhood. Collectively, we are asking you to not improve the zoning for the senior living community on church property. We have other families who would like to, we stand collectively with other young families in our neighborhood. We thank you for listening to our concerns in the neighborhood we live in and love.
Thank you very much. All right, we have about 17 seconds left. If you'd like to share one comment or two.
My name is Carolyn Warner. I've lived on Friedale Road since 1964. I just wanted to go through quickly. I will tell you that industry studies, including a Harvard University report, that fewer than 15% of single adults aged 75 or older can independently afford the cost of long-term care and housing, forcing many facilities.
Ma'am, I'm very sorry. The time has expired. I think we can give about 2 more minutes of time, if that's okay with the rest of the commissioners. Yes. Okay, we'll give you about 2 more minutes of time. We'll give you 2 more minutes on the clock to discuss. Just wanted to let you know we've added 2 minutes if you needed it. You can proceed.
Okay.
Okay.
That afford the cost of long-term care and housing, forcing many facilities to close amid rising operational costs. A recent example, the retreat at Sandy Springs closed in March. You recently defined the use of church property in your decision in the Macklin Community Church permit. You required several stipulations, including the not-for-profit from this activity. I hope that you will apply those same stipulations to this proposed commercial business. This commercial business will operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Red Oak Park is my mission field. Red Oak Park is Cobb's economic future.
All right, thank you very much. All right, at this time, we will, that's right. At this time, we offered about 2 more minutes to the opposition. I'll let the applicant come back up and share that time, additional time as well if needed.
I'll relinquish that. I think we can cover anything in the questions that you ask me, and that way I'm not repetitive. So
Okay.
I'll just reserve it for any questions that you ask, and we're happy to respond at that point. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. You may just want to stand there or sit
stand
tight.
right
We'll
there.
see.
Sure.
We'll turn it over to Commissioner Dance. This is in District 3 to lead our discussion.
Mr. Moore, can you let us know what kind of community outreach has occurred, given the comments that we just heard?
Sure. As the speaker who complained about it noted, she received a personal note inviting her 2 weeks ahead of time to a community meeting. The church did host a community meeting at the church, put notices out to have that. It was well attended by over 40 people from the community. The church has also responded to anybody that's contacted them separately in their own outreach and met individually with people in the neighborhood as well as in smaller groups with people in the neighborhood. So that outreach has occurred, and I give credit to them for that. I mean, that's what's occurred to date.
Okay, are you open to having a further outreach to address the multiple issues that were raised here today?
Of course, of course.
Okay. And can you, some questions that were raised as to the stormwater detention facility and the impact upon neighboring properties with respect to stormwater, can you address how this plan works?
Yes, and actually add some further color and context because of my familiarity. So specifically with Mr. White's situation that spoke on stormwater. So I'm going to start historically, and it's what I referenced in my presentation to you, and that is, given the age of this area, that doesn't mean it's bad. It just means when this was developed, when people built homes on Friedale in the early 60s and 70s, when Eastside Baptist Church was built way before that originally, when East Valley Elementary School, which remember, that's on the far right of this site plan, adjacent to what's shown as the soccer field. That's East Valley Elementary, which has been there for ages until just recently when it was sold and relocated, and now it's a church. All of what I just described to you was built, constructed, and developed without a single bit of what we consider to be even remotely stormwater management under today's standards. When you built neighborhoods like Friedel, 40, 50 years ago, you didn't put detention ponds in. There might be some storm pipes or some drains, and that was about it. Certainly the church and so forth, none of that occurred. What did occur over time from East Valley standpoint was there was a small detention pond that was constructed, which also flows through into Mr. White's property and down to Friedel. That detention pond, it was noted to me when I helped and represented the Catholic Church in its development and renovation of the school site. It's problematic. It has not been maintained. That detention pond that was there has not been maintained at all through the years, the one that's even there. That now is being addressed, which will help a lot. The main thing that will help is we're now going to have to, by doing this development, actually employ today's standards on stormwater detention, management, and water quality, which is why we're showing the pond that we are, which will greatly aid in the stormwater flow and management that's occurring. And by greatly, I mean greatly. Right now, you have a lot of free flow and unrestricted flow that's not being managed. Managed stormwater under today's standards addresses a great many of those issues and will do so. So the church will be responsible for that, and we well know that, and that's a major cost for this project.
Okay, and can you address the concerns that you heard with respect to the traffic impact to the area?
Sure. First, it was misspoken. The actual traffic counts that Cobb DOT assigned to this project. Number one, first, given the low level of traffic that's generated by even a site such as this, where we're proposing a total of 100 units in 105 units in one of the building and simply 8 others independently, under even Cobb County's stringent standards, that doesn't rise to the level of needing a traffic study, because this type of project generates such a low level of traffic impact. They don't even require a study. That's number one. Number two, when she spoke to the total trips per hour, she said something like 426 trips per hour, which is incorrect. Maybe she read the table wrong, but that number is actually per day in a 24-hour period of time would be the total number of trips that could be projected, which even then, that's just part of what the traffic information states. Actually, per hour, it's probably something in the peak hours. Trips might total 20 in a peak hour, or between 20 and 25 trips in a peak hour in the AM or PM, with some in and outs with staff. So from a traffic impact standpoint, for a project such as this, if you think about the assisted living and memory care building, the 95 units, there's no traffic from those 95 units in terms of the individuals occupying those units. They're not driving. You may have some driving from the 10 units that are in that building, and then you'll have some cars and traffic that are generated simply by the staff, which is, again, a staff here is not 100 people. The staff here is much farther and much less than that. So from a traffic impact standpoint, this type of proposal produces far less traffic, and I mean far less traffic than nearly any other proposal other than expansion of the church, which they could do, which would just generate traffic as it does today.
Okay, and how about the comments with respect to the visual or aesthetic compatibility of this larger facility in a neighborhood?
Right. I don't know of any rule where it has to be compatible. What I do know is that we want things to look nice and we want things to look good. I think that you have architecture throughout this area that dates back 50 and 60 years. Some of that may be good. Some of it we may not agree with. What I do think is that when we look at the architecture that's being presented today, I think that looks fabulous. Now, beauty's in the eye of the beholder, but in terms of overall consistency, this has a very upscale appearance, has a mixture of materials with stone and wood beams and brick, which are very common materials that are seen throughout this area. Along Lower Roswell. I don't see the incompatibility. What I see is an upgrade in architecture.
Let me ask you this, with respect to the church itself, is there any intention to upgrade the church's architecture to meet the same kind of standards of this development?
Not that I'm aware of currently. I mean, the church has a blended architecture between kind of the older style with brick and then kind of newer style that you've seen in some church buildings as well. So it's not a holistic architecture for the church either from that standpoint. It's a mixture of brick and ephes and other materials.
Okay, and you heard the comments about it appears to be a divided campus facility. How would you address that?
Yeah, as it relates to a divided campus facility, if the proposed independent living units that are off of Little, if I was proposing 50 way off somewhere, then yes, this 8 units, 8. The reason that is being used is that's the existing parking lot of the church that's not needed, frankly. So we're taking existing parking lot and just making 8 units out of it. It's not but, a football field and a half from the building itself. That's a very, very short walk for independent living, or they take a golf cart and get there. Or drive. It's not a very lengthy distance in terms of that. It's not really disjointed. It's just utilizing that space so we can provide for 8 additional units that look extremely nice. That's why they're there. I don't consider that disjointed. It's just part of how this property is put together.
So with respect to that question, though, the entirety, will this portion be owned by the church?
Yes.
And
All.
operated by the church?
Yes.
Okay, and so the entirety of the property owned by the church exceeds the boundaries that I asked you actually to make a representation for, to show what this affected area is, right?
Correct.
But, so if you were to indicate what the total church boundaries were, can you do that with a pointer, indicating that at the end of that cul-de-sac is included in the church property? Is that correct?
Yes.
So if you squared off from left to right, if we squared off the blue, we cut across there? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes. I was just going to grab something I could point to
Yeah, that would be great.
so that everybody could see.
Yeah,
and-
that's what I
and-
was
and go
hoping
through
for.
it. What's that? Yeah, but I don't think it'll show as well. I can. So now
Okay.
I'll review those boundaries with you, and I think that it will also address a couple of the questions that were asked. So what's in blue is the proposed project boundary. All of that property in blue is currently owned by the church and would be then part of the new nonprofit company that they formed already. Now, the actual church boundaries, though, are the property the church owns. Specifically, you have here, this is Lucky Court, and the church owns these homes here at the end of Lucky Court. That was done as part of when Lucky was closed. It used to go across and all the way to Lower Roswell. It was closed, and the church now owns those and is required to actually own those homes. So the church owns these homes. Originally in our proposal, the initial application included these properties within the proposed RSL. However, due to discussions with certain residents along Friedel and Lucky, we made the decision to remove them altogether because, again, that way they're still the same parcels at Lucky Court, and that's still its own street, not part of it. So those were taken out. That was the change in terms of the site plan. So these properties are owned by the church but not included. There's also property here at Friedel at this end that is owned by the church as well that we likewise did not include in this project. Friedel's an established residential street, and we did not want to include that piece either because it's just out of respect for that neighborhood street. So it's also excluded, and that is located here. So hopefully that answers your question in terms of identifying those areas.
Okay, also, as I understand, the soccer field is part of the church property over to the right.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so that property boundary over to the right is the far property boundary for the church property, assembled church properties, correct?
That's correct. So that soccer field is used as soccer field and play field and has for years and years and years. So it's owned by the church.
Okay, and up on the upper left-hand side, above, all of that is property that goes all the way up to the roadway, is that correct? And is that all owned by the church?
Correct. So all of this is Eastside Baptist Church proper. Your main church building and sanctuary is here. And then you have its recreation and educational buildings and the offices there as well. Those are the existing. And then you have all of this area now, as noted, is a large parking area that extends all the way to here. And this is simply all parking through here, parking and drives around here, and all of this is parking today. So it's when you talk about a field or a view of parking, it's a field and view of parking today. That's
Okay,
all
and
it is today.
and there were questions about the walkability from the proposed independent living to the proposed assisted living. Will there be walkways throughout this development so to connect this campus?
Yes, this is absolutely connected by pedestrian all the way to the building. It will
Okay,
be.
and will-
It'll be protected. There'll be a path and sidewalk and that type of thing that'll be installed.
Okay, and what about the aesthetics of the proposed pond? Will that be landscaped? Or,
Let me- I think you can expect to see the proposed pond have areas that are landscaped and pathed around it. So yes, it's meant as
and a
both
fountain?
stormwater, excuse me?
And a fountain?
It'll probably have one just from a stormwater.
There's one on the
management
picture.
standpoint. Yes.
Okay,
It'll
so,
be, it's used both to enhance and as stormwater management.
okay, and this blacktop surface indicates that there are some pathways of travel that would connect the properties, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And are there any other comments you would like to make that are responsive to the neighborhood?
I think we covered it. I don't want to belabor the point. I think we addressed
Okay,
the
and so
concerns that were raised in our presentation. And again, by ordinance, this does not create a precedent, by ordinance. But if you want to look in terms of examples, the examples I would give you are Sterling Estates. Sterling Estates on Lower Roswell Road, it was approved while it was in a LDR, low-density residential land use plan, and remains LDR today. West Cobb Sterling Estates was partly low-density residential and partly within a neighborhood activity center. Other locations for assisted living facilities throughout the county are in a variety of different land use categories. The reason being is in and of itself, it doesn't establish a precedent. So this is not anything new. That doesn't mean just because of Sterling Estates, this should be approved. Just the contrary. We should be comfortable knowing that this does not establish a precedent for this type of facility. Moreover, as noted by Cobb County professional staff in their analysis, this proposal is actually consistent with the property's designation as public institutional and low-density residential with additional property area studies. So I take great issue with somehow this is incompatible with the land use plan when that is in fact not the case whatsoever.
Okay, well, I appreciate the advocacy, but I
You did
also know
ask.
that we're here to talk about, neighbors.
Yes, that's
and-
fine.
And the notion that, whoever wants to speak in the audience right now is not the appropriate time, so I just don't want to be distracted out there. But I did hear some neighborhood comments about, do we have access to facilities? Do we really want to be neighbors and things? It seems like it's appropriate to facilitate a true public meeting where, these questions are asked and answered fully, since we're looking to all shake hands on things.
Sure.
Ultimately in the community. And there was a thought.
Yeah.
And it just flew by. But if you could, it would be possible to facilitate that, also to invite staff to come and make comments as to participate in that community meeting with respect to the issues we've heard, stormwater, DOT, and if you would invite members of the public and, this board to attend and notify us of the time, we'd appreciate that.
We'd love to.
Was that,
We would love to. I mean,
Okay.
at the end of the day, this is a church.
right,
And, we're called upon as a church and a church family to love your neighbor. This is that opportunity to continue that effort. And so when I say,
I would
when I say
love
without,
that would be a great example. for
without
the-
a doubt, we have absolutely no issue, would be happy to do that.
Okay.
And meet with
so-
them individually as well. We're
Okay,
happy to.
perfect.
Great.
So, anticipating what kind of motion I would make, I would also request that citizens, and particularly I want to appreciate everybody who came and provided feedback, but those citizens who are here, if you take note of the intent to have a meeting, if you can make sure that you provide to our staff your addresses and contact information so that Mr. Moore might make sure that everyone has notice of,
Thank you.
of a public meeting, that would be helpful.
Thank you.
All right. Do you have other questions of him?
That's okay. Thank you very much. Who currently uses the soccer field for the most part?
It's not as much as used as it once was, but primarily it's been used through the years by church youth activities and by local youth sports organizations. I think I played soccer there growing up as part of a
Okay.
soccer team, if I can recall.
Okay.
No, I'm not a member of the church, so.
All right. Has anybody studied the adequacy of planned parking for the soccer field use after? So for example, if there's still league play there on Saturdays, has anybody looked into the adequacy of parking for both the assisted living and the soccer field?
Yeah, so they've incorporated, it's not used to that extent where there's large league play like that. It's not used to that extent any longer like it once was. So there's more than adequate parking for its use now.
Okay. And then it looks like the existing use of the area that's where the proposed assisted living is going to go is mostly parking lot right now.
It's all parking lot right now.
So
entirely.
same question, has somebody studied the adequacy of remaining parking for the church?
Yes, that's been done by both the church and staff, as I understand it. But yes, for our purposes, that is on behalf of the church. Part of the reason this came up is because you look out and it's just a sea of parking that's not used ever, even on Easter Sunday, that type of thing. So it's just not used to that extent. And you see that with other churches in terms of the use of their parking and all of that in property. So in today's environment, so it's just not being used.
Is that part of any, is that study or is there any formal submittal regarding that decrease in utilization of parking? Is that in the filings at all?
It's not any formal, but we can do that.
Okay, thank
Quite
you.
easily.
Yeah.
And then provide, the numbers on that. Because
And then
we're not doing away with all the parking. There's parking up that's not shown on this plan, just so we could visually show it. So, but we can certainly submit all those parking counts, and just so that that box can be checked. It's a good question to assure everybody, but we can do that.
And then your visual, you showed us just a few minutes ago that included a lovely fountain, among other things, had what appeared to be a pretty significant tree line between the proposed project and the houses on Friedale. I just wanted to go back to that. Do you have a sense for the depth of that tree line between the project and the houses back there?
You get into a mixture of some of the areas along there that are both along the property line or on the residential properties, and portion of it on the church property. The parking lot goes pretty deep. If I The trees you see in the background there are within 40 to 50 feet of the property line.
Okay. Because I actually enjoyed looking out my window at TK Tower for some reason. I don't know why exactly. I think somebody threw out some magic beans and all of a sudden there was a 420-foot tower, but.
Yes.
Yeah. I do understand that some people seem to have an aversion to looking out and seeing like a 35-foot structure right on top of them, but, so I'll just go out there and visit and look at the tree line out there. Thank you.
I was just going to add one additional comment. I think the opposition discussed construction and things of that nature, noise, lighting, all of that. So I would just suggest in the community meeting, you may want to address that if you didn't already. And also, I think there was a comment around safety with a new pond being introduced in the neighboring property for children. So I'm not sure I know the tree line is buffer, but if there's any additional things that may be needed in order to ensure the safety there, I would suggest talking and discussing that with the public as well.
We can do that. We're happy to do that. Thank you for those comments. On the construction, I do want to add one of the conditions and stipulations that was requested by East Cobb Civic Association, despite their opposition today, which was included in our letter, are detailed construction hours and limited construction hours throughout the week that were part of our application. So we're happy to share that. I mean, I didn't have time to share that, but I'd love to share that with them at our meeting. So,
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
thank you.
And just for purposes of the same kind of furthering the discussion that you just had, I think there were some other matters that were mentioned by citizens, like lighting and those kind of things.
Yes.
So if all those things can be covered in a
We will.
facilitated meeting, that would be helpful. Thank you.
We will definitely do that.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your questions.
I would like to ask if there's a water representative who can speak to this plan?
I don't think he's here today.
No? Okay. All right, and so if we could have a stormwater representative present at our next meeting, and DOT, are you having comments on this? Do you have any comments on this?
They're entered into the submitted already.
Right, so, okay, but if y'all can be present for the community meeting, that would be very helpful to explain those things to the public at that time. So, does anyone have any questions for anyone else? Okay, so at this time, I'd like to make a motion to hold this till our next meeting and request that the applicant and the citizens, the applicant host a meeting, a public meeting to advise citizens and residents of the area and allow them the opportunities to provide input on that. Again, I would ask the individuals who are present and have presented information from the neighborhood, if you could provide your names and contact information before you leave. And that would be my motion.
I second that motion.
Okay, we have a second from Commissioner Massey. Any discussion? Call the question. And Z22 is held
Thank you.
4-0. Let's take about a 10-minute restroom break. Well, we can proceed back at 11 a.m. So we'll stop now and resume at 11 a.m. Thank you. All right, and we'll get started. We have 2 additional cases left on our agenda today. I'll turn it over to Mr. Peterson to get us started.
Okay, next case we're going to hear is rezoning case Z23 of 2026, 2997 Johnson Ferry LLC. Request a rezoning from GC to NRC for retail and commercial uses in land lot 539 of the 16th district. The property is located on the west side of Johnson Ferry Road, south of Waterfront Drive. The applicant is present, and earlier there were 2 people here opposed. All those who would like to address the board either for or against the application, please come forward and be sworn in.
We just need someone to swear them in, Mr. Peterson. Here he is. There he goes. Okay. The applicant can make, you're the applicant, sir? I am. Good morning to you. Please make your way up to the podium. Please state your name for the record, and then you have a total of 10 minutes time to share your thoughts.
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Reese Chance Lewis. I am one of the owners for 2997 Johnson's Ferry. We purchased the property almost 2 years ago, and we haven't really conducted business out of there because we found out the zoning had been changed because the owner of it prior did not have a licensed Cobb County company in there, and it did not get grandfathered in to the rest of the zoning that the rest of the office complex or retail complex has around it. So we are now trying to see if we can't get that zoning. One of the tenants that is in my building has a head spa. So it's like considered light retail. So she has 2 people, 2 patients or clients that she can see at a time. Well, she's got 4 beds, so she has 4 people she can see at a time. I have an ambulance company in there, but it's just an office space that we're using right now. We've got ambulance parked outside because she's not allowed to open yet until we get the zoning clear. So once that happens, we'll move our ambulance to another location that we can park and then just open up all the parking for her who has that. And then I think we would just need 2 other spots for other offices in the building, and that's pretty much my case. I'm trying to find out if we can get zoning so we can get the head spa open and we can move our vehicles and have companies running out of the building like everybody else there.
Okay, thank you very much. I do believe we have opposition. Opposition, you please feel free to come up to the podium. You do have a total of 10 minutes as well. Please state your name for the record to begin. Those, if it's more than one person speaking in opposition, they'll all need to use that same amount of time together.
Good morning. My name is Scott Bear. Our family owns the property completely surrounding this property. And I understand that he recently informed me that he was going to remove the ambulances, but as you'll be able to see, where's it moved? There. Okay, so that's the same shot he just had. This is the subject property here. There is that concrete pad that is out front that is on his property. That is only on site property. It does not have any ADA parking as of yet with a van access aisle. So I did the math, and there's only 4 allowable regular parking spots on that site once the ADA spot is painted. So there's an existing agreement between our 2 properties. So he has an additional 5. So that gives him a total of 9. And I saw the Cobb County non-residential parking requirements on the first page of the zoning analysis was 14 spots. And I don't know how 4 beds and other offices and staff can fit on 9 parking spots on that lot. So that seems like an awfully heavy, intense use of a multi-tenant property. So over the past 10 months, the number of ambulances have increased from 1 back in July of '25 to now there's as many as 6 with a small pickup truck, company truck that also parks over there. There was 5 of them yesterday as I drove by. We have issues with the staff, not necessarily Mr. Lewis, because he's very good at responding, but his staff will double park on the left, and on the right side, they'll service the vehicles kind of in the middle of the parking lot in front of his building. More staff double parked, and that is actually an access drive from our front tenants, the dry cleaners and the auto repair shop, as it's a drive-through. They will drive this, and as my path of travel on the right, you can see that that car is blocking, and when an ambulance is in that parking spot, it's very difficult to make that left turn because other people are also using that drive. This one was just a one-off, and the ambulance got stuck in the middle of the parking lot, but he removed it within 2 hours. So the communication's been great, but his staff are just not parking in a gravel lot that is meant for parking on that next lot to his. The last week, I also noticed that some zoning staff recommended numerous variances or recommendations to approve the zoning application. One was in summary of the fire department recommending clear access to the perimeter of the building. And these are storage sheds and rear masonry stairs that are surrounding the building. One's on the back, one's on the side. But as you can see, there's a picture on the right. The fence line is within 2 feet, and I don't know how the 10-foot access would apply here. The fence has been there, and he's been repairing and maintaining the fence. But I don't know how the fire department is going to be able to pass that, but I know that'll be handled in plan review. There also was a recommendation for reduce the parking requirement to 0 in the variances. That was another one I don't understand because I've never heard that before watching this process over the past year or so. Because that basically places the burden of parking onto our parking lots. And the existing agreement only allows for 5 parking spots before technically, I guess, we could start towing. But it's never come to that. What it has come in the past with previous owners is that we've had to install a fence along that front of that building, which is on the picture on the left, all the way from basically the dry cleaners all the way to where the corner of his property is right there. And we've actually had to make it all the way to block that drive because his easement is actually the main entrance to the shopping center on the south side of that picture, going around, turning right, and then turning right into his parking. Nobody has an easement to use the drive between the auto repair and the dry cleaner that is adjacent to his property. We all know that the GC is out of date and has to be updated. So we understand the zoning needs to be changed, but it's really the intensity of use with traffic, parking, and I've talked with the ECCA, and they also recommended office and administrative uses only for this property. In the past, there's only been single tenant use, and it was very low intense use of that. And I know with other discussion that he says the ambulances are going to be removed because the NRC zoning does not allow for ambulance or ambulatory services on the NRC. And see, did I miss it? This is them using the non-easement, agreed-upon easement to access his property through ours. And also is another thing, I don't understand how the existing impervious surface is 90%. I know the building has been existed without any really modifications, but 90% is way above this county standard without putting a detention tank underneath. We get a lot of runoff from the other landlocked properties in this property that does bring mud in the parking lot. Another issue is I've witnessed his employees using our trash, where trash will be pulled directly from the ambulances and thrown into this dumpster. And I certainly hope there's no medical waste being generated while cleaning the ambulances or whatever it is. But I know he doesn't have permission to use that dumpster. And you can see the mud in the parking lot from the runoff from these recent rains. And this slide really hopefully doesn't apply as long as he's not parking ambulances on site. And that's pretty much all I got. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, sir. Was there anyone else in opposition that needed to speak? No, okay. All right, at this time, this is in District 3. I'll turn it over to Commissioner Dance to lead our discussion.
Okay, Mr. Peterson, could we get staff's recommendation on this?
Yes, the staff recommendation was to approve the request, Commissioner Dance.
Okay, and can you provide the analysis for that approval?
Well, we went through the analysis and we found that the proposal was consistent with what's developed adjacent and adjoining to it. You know, this building was very similar to the buildings that surround it that were developed around the same time period, the 1980s, probably early to mid-1980s. The use would not cause an adverse effect because it has been existing there for about 40 years without harming anything. You know, we are aware there's easements in place for access and parking and utilities, and you know those are civil issues that the applicant's got to address with the other property owners who have rights to that easement. And then lastly, this is consistent with the comprehensive plan. This is actually a downzoning from general commercial to NRC for very similar type uses.
Okay, so the currently zoned area for NRC, there's the remainder of that property will remain GC or?
Correct. The property to the south and east is going to remain general commercial.
Mm-hmm.
The property to the west looks like it's zoned neighborhood shopping.
Okay, and there's no other request for the GC properties currently?
That's correct.
All right. Okay, and with respect to the discussion about ambulances, that's not a permitted use under NRC?
Correct. So if the Board of Commissioners does zone this to NRC, the ambulance service will have to go away.
Okay, is the ambulance service currently appropriate for use on the property?
It is allowed in general commercial, however, there is no business license for that use on the property.
There's no current business license?
Correct.
Is it being operated as an ambulance service, to your knowledge?
You know, according to the person who spoke in opposition, they're operating there as an ambulance service.
Okay. Or at least they're moving vehicles that are marked as ambulances. It would appear
Correct.
that way. Okay. All right. Anyone else have questions for Mr. Peterson?
I just a little clarity on operating as an ambulatory service. Based on, what does that mean in terms of, okay, could they have the office there for this company, for lack of a better word, and then the vehicles are our property, or what is when you say service, are there emergency services on site, which means that you cannot operate in that capacity? Can you dive a little bit more into that so we'll know
Well,
what they can and cannot do under this code?
They can have a professional office there for their administrative office, but they cannot park the ambulances on the property. It's just not permitted.
Okay, so office, no vehicles.
Correct.
Gotcha.
And along those lines, there was a discussion about whether or not 14 spots versus 9 spots were appropriate. Do you have an opinion on that?
Well, it's 14 according to the code when you divide out the building by the required number of parking. So 14 is our number, and it's my understanding, based on the testimony, that there's 5 designated parking spaces that the two owners have worked out per an agreement and maybe a court order. So, you know, if this was approved by the board, it would be granting a reduction in parking.
That sounds kind of like an oxymoron. Grant them a reduction of property. They don't have, of parking, they don't have to fulfill the 14, right? But-
Well, there's no place to build 14 parking spaces on this property. It's basically the building footprint
So
and
it
a little
makes-
bit of property around the building.
Okay, so it's acknowledging that there's a limited number of spaces
Correct.
available. Okay, anyone else? Sure, we could like the applicant to come forward, please. If you want to go ahead and take the lead, then.
Based on what you've heard in terms of the restrictions to the ambulatory services, are you prepared to remove all vehicles and keep vehicles, should this be approved, remove all vehicles and keep them removed from the premises as to not infringe upon that status, that if we decide to approve it?
Yes.
Or
Yeah,
recommend
the
approval?
ambulance are there right now because there is nothing open for us to legally run anything, so we just have been using the spots. We didn't know that we couldn't have that there. We only want an office, and we're a non-emergency ambulance company, so we only do dialysis transportation for stretcher patients, and we have another set property for all of our ambulance. So we would just be operating our offices out of that location, and then there would be a head spa downstairs.
The opposition mentioned several infractions from your staff. Disposal in their trash cans, et cetera. Let me ask the question first, if you don't mind. I want to know if there is, are there processes and procedures in place that you've put in place to eliminate that from being a concern from your neighbor moving forward?
Absolutely, and usually Scott and I are pretty communicative, and I respond immediately, and this is the very first time I've ever heard that someone has put trash in your trash. You've never told me that before. So I would immediately, like, it's a rule to my staff not to do that specifically, and he usually tells me everything, so I was caught off guard by seeing that and had not heard of it. So yeah, we do have the rules for our staff. And then as far as parking, like right in the front, like in the middle right there, generally that has just been like just side unloading or loading, but sometimes staff has taken advantage and left it there a little longer. I have now made that a rule that they're not to do that. So that's going to be taken away as well.
Anyone else have questions of him? I'm just not understanding. When you say head spa, what is that?
It's like a spa that massages your scalp, and it's like a hair loss, for hair loss and hair thinning. And what they do is they massage and treat people's scalps, and they can only deal with like 2 people or 3 people at a time. So it's not going to be like a high traffic place. It'll 3 appointments, they come in, they get their hair treated, and then they leave.
Okay, and as the property owner, your business or yours and your partner's business is what?
No,
Oh, you don't
No.
have a business?
we do. Ours is the ambulance company, and our office is there, but we won't be parking our ambulance there. And then downstairs, we have a head spa
Okay.
who's waiting for us to get the zoning for them to open. And then, once that happens, we'll move all the ambulance. They'll have available parking for their clientele, and that's hopefully what I can accomplish today, or by
Okay,
the 16th.
and so would there be any other commercial vehicle parking?
No.
Good, all right, thank you. Anybody else want to ask any questions? Okay, at this time, I would move for approval of the rezoning with the, acknowledgement and understanding of the applicant that this would require removal of all ambulances from the location and that they not be parked there in the future, and that require that there be permission to park any other service vehicles granted by the district commissioner, and further recommend that all recommendations of staff be incorporated into this motion.
Second, for the purposes of discussion also.
Okay, we have a second from Commissioner Massey. We can proceed with discussion.
The only thing that I would add is giving him a time frame to have those vehicles removed.
I
would
think,
agree.
all right, for purposes of discussion, I mean, once it's approved by the board, it seems to me that that's a requirement.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. The timeline is, the deadline is once this is approved, if it is approved by the Board of Commissioners, that it would be the time frame.
For them to remove it immediately. Okay.
Which seems doable by the applicant based on they already have a location. So, any other discussion, any other points of discussion? Okay, call a question. Okay, and Z23 is approved 4-0. Recommended for approval, 4-0.
Okay, next item on the agenda is rezoning case Z24 of 2026, RB 448 Atlanta Road Southeast LLC. Request rezoning from R20 to PVC for a mixed-use development in land lot 748 of the 17th district. The property is located on the southeast corner of Atlanta Road and West Village Way. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed rezoning case Z24? 3, okay. Let the record show there's 3 people here opposed. All those who wish to address the board either for or against, please come forward to be sworn in.
Good morning. Please state your name for the record. You have a total of 10 minutes to share your comments.
Good morning. Patrick Stanton. I'm here representing Real Biscuits, the proposed developer of this property. And we're here before you today for a rezoning application of 0.31 acres located at the corner of Atlanta Road and West Village Way. Do you have a site plan? This 0.31 acres adjoins approximately 0.8 acres to the southeast of it. And we are looking to, which is currently zoned PVC, Planned Village Commercial. So we're asking that this 0.31 acres be rezoned to Planned Village Commercial for inclusion in this proposed development. And the proposed development would be for what is called a cafe racer, essentially a restaurant with a drive-through, as you see on the site plan. So essentially, our efforts today and through this board and the Board of Commissioners is to rezone the property to the north to be included as part of the property to be developed to the south.
Okay, any additional comments, sir? Yes.
Good morning. My name is
Morning.
Brad Galland. I'm actually with Cafe Racer, the property owner. Yes, as Patrick said, we're effectively looking to rezone this third of an acre to incorporate it into our master plan. We acquired this property in December of last year, and when we did so, we knew that there was an existing approved site plan that we were going to have to work within the confines of. We found a way to do that. I believe we got the Commissioner Allen on board with that, and we were working through the process with the county. We approached the county about incorporating this third of an acre really just to improve the site plan. So the site plan that you see here is largely similar to what the approved site plan was from back in 2017, 2018, maybe 2019, somewhere thereabouts. I know there have been concerns with the adjacent property owners as it relates to specifically the hours of operation, the drive-through use, some of the access points. So what we've done with this revised site plan is shift to the access points so they align a little more favorably with existing access points. I've met with property owners, our representative of the property owners, first in December, then again in March, to bring them along the ride, let them know what we were up to as part as the third of an acre rezoning, let them know we were going through this process. So conversations along the way and a lot of transparency. Again, I have very much understanding of what they want to see here, what they don't want to see here. We have challenges with trying to shift the site plan around to move the drive-through. There's grading challenges. This property falls fairly steeply from the northwest corner down to the southeast corner. So we're working to ensure the most appropriate site plan we can with the grades that we're working with. And as far as, again, the hours of operation, it was made very clear to us early on that 24-hour operations were not something that would be supported by the homeowners. So by no means do we plan to operate 24 hours here. So again, happy to address any questions, comments, concerns you have. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any additional comments? Okay. All right. Thank you very much. At this time, we can have the opposition come up. If there are multiple people that would like to speak, we have a total of 10 minutes time between all of those that choose to speak. Good morning. Please state your name for the record, and you can begin.
Okay, thank you so much. Is it up? Oh, great, back. Good morning. Thank you for your time. My name is Alette Stage. I live at 4362 Benfield Way, the community across from this development. And I am here to represent the interest of the residents in West Village, Oakdale area, and 4400 West. So we're here today to offer our conditional support for this rezoning. Over the years, our community has opposed several proposals for this site, including racetrack, Whataburger. Cafe Racer is different. We believe it can be a quality addition to the area, and we appreciate the effort that has gone into bringing forward a proposal that the neighborhood can support. We are ready to give this parcel development, get to see this parcel developed, and have worked in good faith to find common ground, including accepting a commercial drive-through across from our high-end residential community. Today, we simply ask that several reasonable safeguards be incorporated into the recommendation. These requests or conditions are not intended to hinder the project. They're intended to ensure that the development succeeds while remaining compatible with the surrounding neighborhood. We believe that each of these conditions is practical, achievable, and fully consistent with the successful operation of Cafe Racer. The applicant has stated that they plan to incorporate this parcel with the adjacent parcel into a single development. Because the access configuration and site plan being approved today is essential to the overall site plan, we believe it is appropriate to consider how the two parcels function together. We're asking that potential loopholes be avoided, and this is why we're requesting that certain key commitments be written into the zoning conditions. So we're asking for 7 specific conditions to be included in the zoning approval today. 3 focus on traffic and pedestrian safety. 3 focus on compatibility with the nearby residential community. And the final condition provides a mechanism for continued communication between the applicant, the county, and the neighborhood as the project evolves. Our first condition is to add a stop sign for southbound traffic on West Atlanta Road at West Village Way. The image may not be completely clear. It's taken through the front window of my car, but it hopes to illustrate that there's limited sight distance at this corner, and drivers turning left from South Atlanta Road onto West Village Way often have difficulty seeing southbound traffic approaching from the right. As a result, this location has experienced numerous near collision and close calls. And with the additional traffic expected from Cafe Racer using this access point, we believe it's appropriate to access this existing traffic safety concern now rather than after the development is operational. Our second request pertains to the proposed driveway location for this parcel. Per the plan, the driveway conflicts with the existing stop sign on West Village Way. It's highlighted in red. And its location creates a situation that functions more like a 4-way intersection than a traditional 3-way intersection it was designed to be. We're requesting that the driveway be relocated in the safest manner possible for both the residents and the customers of Cafe Racer. Okay. Our third request addresses pedestrian safety. Today, there's no direct pedestrian access from West Village to this parcel, despite the fact that many future customers are likely to arrive on foot from the nearby homes and apartments. The concept plan identifies a pedestrian crossing, but it's not currently included in the stipulated requirements. We've seen similar pedestrian improvements deferred or omitted on other projects in our community, and we want to ensure that this important connection is completed as part of the development. Accordingly, we request a conditioned pedestrian crossing that includes appropriate striping, ADA-compliant curb cuts, and a pedestrian-activated signaling. This will improve both safety and walkability in the community. Our fourth condition pertains to operating hours. The applicant has been very forthcoming that they do not want 24 hours, which is also the staff recommendation. We simply request that we add into the stipulations that hours of operation be limited from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. with no deliveries outside of those operating hours. This provides certainty for the nearby residents while allowing ample operation time for Cafe Racer. Okay. The next 3 requests focus on compatibility with the homes at 4400 West. This is the luxury townhome development right across from this proposed project. And our most important request involves the orientation of the drive-through. The current concept places the drive-through directly facing the homes located less than 115 feet away. Because these homes sit on a higher elevation, residents will have direct view of the drive-through activity, vehicle headlights, queuing traffic, and associated noise. Our request is simple: orient a drive-through away from the residential community so that the least attractive and most intense operational component of the site is directed toward Pine Street or South Atlanta Road rather than the neighboring homes. We believe that this represents good planning practice and a reasonable balance between commercial activity and residential compatibility. We recognize that reorienting the building may appear to be a significant request. However, we know this approach is both practical and achievable because it has already been considered at the same site. During the prior Whataburger proposal, the building was rotated to better address the relationship between the commercial use and adjacent residences. That example demonstrates that the site design modifications can successfully balance business operations with neighborhood compatibility. We're simply asking that the same planning principle will be applied here, position the more intense operational elements of the site toward Atlanta Road and away from the nearby homes. We believe this adjustment would strengthen the project and help ensure long-term support from the surrounding community. Similarly, we request that the dumpster be relocated to a less visible location and fully enclosed. As currently shown, the dumpster would be clearly visible from portions of the 4400 West residential community. We therefore request that the dumpster be relocated to a less visible area of the site and that it be fully enclosed with materials compatible with the overall development. This is a modest change that would significantly improve compatibility with the adjacent residential community. Taking together with the drive-through orientation and landscaping measures, it would help create a development that is both successful commercially and compatible with the residential community that surrounds it. Our final request concerns ongoing community involvement. Once this rezoning is approved, both this parcel and the assemblage parcel will likely undergo additional site plan and landscape revisions as the project moves forward. At this stage, residents often lose visibility into the changes that may affect them, and so we respectfully request a 14-day notice and an opportunity to comment for the community before site plan or landscape changes are approved. This is not intended to create delays. We're very excited to see this property developed after so many years. It's simply intended to maintain communication and transparency throughout the development process. So in conclusion, these are 7 conditions under which our community is fully prepared to support this application. We believe they are reasonable, balanced, and compatible with the successful operation of Cafe Racer. Our first 4 conditions pertaining to traffic and pedestrian safety are already largely supported by staff comments and DOT comments. We're simply asking that they will be formally incorporated into the stipulations of the zoning case. The remaining conditions focus on protecting the quality and character of the surrounding community. We believe this is an imperative part of PVC zoning. Our goal today is simple: a successful new business, a great addition to our community, a high-quality development, and the protection of the existing residential community. We respectfully ask for a recommendation of approval with these 7 conditions written into stipulation. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. All right, this is in District 2. Commissioner Michaeletto is not present at this time, so we'll go ahead and,
Sorry, pardon.
no, you're fine. You can go ahead and have a seat if you don't
Thank
mind.
you.
Thank you very much. We'll go ahead and just move forward with discussion and questions of the applicant and opposition and talk through the case. At this time, I would like to probably call the applicant back up. So So thanks again for your earlier comments.
Yes, ma'am.
And I understand from your comments also, you've talked with some of the property owners and had some discussion. So I'm not sure if this was new information to you or not, but I would like to see if you could, in a sense, just address the comments that, were made today to see where we can find common ground. I can step you through those, or if you know the comments, if you can step through those yourself.
Yes,
please
ma'am.
feel
I
free.
think I took sufficient notes, but please fact check me along the way. So the first condition had to do with the stop sign and, specifically, I think the stop sign coming off of West Atlanta Road, I may be mistaken there. That's obviously in the purview of Cobb DOT and not us. The driveway location obviously is us, and I'll speak to that in just a minute. The second bullet was the right in, right out. Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Alette. Was relocating the right in, right out driveway away from the stop sign in the intersection. So when we purchased this property, again, it was under the purview of an existing site plan, approved site plan through the county. Those existing access points there was one closer to Pine Street, one that was closer to, or I guess on West Village Way. Both of those were full access points. Really, our hope in working on this revised site plan, incorporating this third of an acre, were to pull one of those driveways away from Pine Street, so making it a little bit easier of an access movement, a full access movement, and then shifting the other driveway further around. If maybe if you don't mind pulling up the site plan for us, please. Thank you. So the driveway on the north end of the property, shifting it around so it better aligned with West Atlanta Road, I believe is the name of the road up there. Our preference there would obviously be full access. During the initial conversations with Cobb DOT, they had indicated that they would much rather prefer a right in, right out access there, given the traffic that's moving off West Village Way, West Atlanta Road, South Atlanta Road, and just how that functions. Again, I'm not going to be a complete stick in the mud here and not recognize there's not traffic challenges right there. My ask would be, if we did get conditioned on some sort of movement, that it would be a right in, right out with a potential left out of our property at that northern access point. The left out obviously ensures that our customers can move and circulate off the property, and any stacking that would occur on our property. So it should not be a detriment to the existing road network. It should be stacking on our property. So again, happy to continue working through that. The crosswalk, over on the southern side of the property, crossing West Village Way. Again, working with the townhome community, we've said absolutely, we're happy to put a crosswalk in. As I mentioned to Ms. Stace, I don't know the specifics on what Cobb DOT or the governing body wants to see in terms of crosswalk signage, flashing lights, things of that nature. We can certainly commit to putting in a crosswalk and adding to the connectivity of our property and that of West Village. The hours of operation. Again, this is a little bit of a challenge for us, and I'm going to back up a little, say, we are a restaurant startup group. This will likely be location number 4 for us, so we are still figuring out our way. Athens, Georgia is home of locations 1 and 2. Number 3 will be down in Auburn, Alabama. Number 4 will likely be here in Cobb County. The reason I bring that up is because we're not Chick-fil-A, we're not McDonald's, we're not Whataburger. We're still figuring out our way. We're still figuring out what our hours of operation need to be. I can stand here and assure you we're not going to be a 24-hour operation, because the homeowners have made that very clear that they don't want 24 hours. And quite frankly, that's not our business, so that's not what we're trying to do. The 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., our locations in Athens open at 6 a.m. They close, well, the location that's going to be most similar to this closes at 11 p.m. on weeknights. Friday night and Saturday night, we're open till midnight. I don't know what the West Village will dictate, what the customers of Cobb County are going to ask in terms of our business. More specifically on the morning side of the business, I could certainly see us wanting to open a little bit earlier. But again, my ask would be, I don't want to stand here and commit to hours of operation because I'm just not sure what those look like today. I can commit to, we're not going to operate 24 hours a day. There's a very good likelihood we're not going to open much earlier than 6 a.m. It might turn into 5:30 if business dictates that and people want breakfast, biscuits, donuts, coffee, et cetera, earlier than 6 a.m. But it's highly unlikely we're going to operate past midnight or want to operate past midnight. But again, my commitment is we are not going to operate 24 hours, nor do we want to. The orientation of the drive-through. So this is, as you can imagine, has been, and I'm going to lump the dumpster location in here as well. So when we acquired this property, as mentioned for about the third time now, there was a master plan that was approved. The driveway location, the drive-through location was largely in the location as it is right now, and the building is largely in the location it's in right now. We did, we obviously had the previous site plan that Ms. Staish presented. We looked at that. We looked at flipping our building 180 degrees to try to put the drive-through on the opposite side of the building. It presented some fairly significant challenges with the grades on this property. So, as I mentioned, the grades run, they fall from the northwest down to the southeast, excuse me. So it was just going to offer some pretty significant challenge to the grading on this property. So we've elected to keep the drive-through where it's located right now. And I also, again, we're still figuring our way as a company, but when I presented the drive-through on the opposite side of the building that wrapped on the, call it the southeast side of the property, to our operations team, they don't have a lot of strong opinions on a lot of things, but the strong opinion said, Brad, there's no way we can make that work. So, okay, I'm going to take your word for it. I'm standing here representing the property interest of what we do, not the operations. So again, what I've mentioned, Ms. Staish, is we're happy to do our best to work with her and the community to provide some sort of evergreen buffer along that, call it the western edge of the drive-through that would border, West Village Way and our drive-through. So something that is, fairly appealing, that is evergreen, that provides a nice buffer. And again, we don't have the grading plan in front of us here because, quite honestly, we're still working on just finalizing that. But I did ask our civil engineer, and the grades between West Village Way and the drive-through, it's about a 5-foot difference in grade. So West Village Way sits about 5 feet higher than where our drive-through is going to be. So just by nature of that, any sort of shrubbery, any sort of evergreen planting that we do along that property line is going to provide quite a bit of hiding of any cars coming through that drive-through. Same thing with the dumpster. The dumpster is located where it is in large part because we didn't really have a lot of other places to put it. On the other side of the building, it creates pretty significant challenges for a dumpster truck to get in and out. I may be making this up, but I don't know that Cobb County necessarily wanted that along the Atlanta Road frontage as well. Again, what I can commit to is it is going to be a fully enclosed dumpster enclosure. We will do our best to hide it behind landscaping, and again, the intent will be, we'll have at least some sort of landscape plan when we come to Board of County Commissioners, so we can, provide direction there. And lastly, the 14-day community notice and comment before any future site plan or landscape changes. So, again, I'm standing here in front of you today, obviously in hopes that we can get this third of an acre rezoned. Our next step would be Board of County Commissioners. That is 14 days from today. So any changes we made, we couldn't necessarily meet that requested timeline to provide any sort of comment in future site plan or landscape changes. So again, my goal would be to present this site plan, present a landscape plan that captures what we've discussed here to Board of County Commissioners. I can certainly commit to providing the station, the homeowners, a review prior to BOCC, but 14 days is literally today, and I don't have a landscape plan to share today. So again, I've hoped that we've done our best to work with the homeowners. We were a little bit of a square peg in a round hole starting this process because we had a site plan that was approved by the county back in 2018, 2019. I'm very familiar with the history of this property. I lived in Cobb County for the better part of 10 or so years of my life. I worked at businesses in Cobb County. Ironically, I worked for Racetrack when the Racetrack Petroleum had this property under contract. I'm very familiar with the history. So we've done our best to be mindful of the community, mindful of the homeowners, mindful of the look and feel of what's going on here in Cobb County. And again, we're excited about being here. We are not a typical fast food chain that's looking to grow 50 locations a year. Assuming we get this built, this will probably be, again, I mentioned this will be number 4. It will be one of 2 or 3 locations that we open, hopefully in 2027. So we're trying to be very mindful of where we build, how we build, being a part of the community. The drive-through is part of our business. It is not the extent of a Chick-fil-A or McDonald's. So I want to get that out into the record. But if life after COVID has taught us anything, a drive-through and mobile pickup and things of that nature has just been part of the business. So, again, happy to answer any additional questions. I just rambled on for longer than I thought, so.
No, I was taking notes. You checked off everyone that
I appreciate that.
Just a little clarity on the site. What part of the process that are you in for the actual build? I think I heard you say you're putting together the grading plan. You haven't broke ground or anything like that. You are. Where are you in the process?
No, ma'am. So when we bought the property in December, there was an approved site plan. We worked with the commissioner to say, all right, this is how we can fit our building and drive-through on this site plan. Are you okay with this? He said, yes, sir, we can work with that. So there is an approved site plan. The previous site plan, I don't know if it's in the package or not, but there is an approved site plan that we submitted civil drawings to the county on a few months ago. We have some comments back and forth. We could address those comments and go build that site plan very soon if we wanted to. Our preference would be to incorporate this third of an acre because we felt that it just made the property that much more usable. It incorporated a third of an acre that is currently pretty overgrown, pretty unsightly. Our goal is to make this look and feel, it's about 1.5 acres of property that has been sitting there for a very long time, and we would love to put it to good use. To answer your question directly, once we go through Board of County Commissioners, the goal will be to submit our revised civil plans, landscape plans, grading plans, obviously continue to work with the county, but the ultimate goal would be to break ground by the end of the year.
Okay. Any additional questions for the applicants? Okay, I think that's, you can go ahead and have a seat. Thank you
Thank you.
very much. Cobb DOT. You knew we were going to call you.
Wilson Collins, Cobb DOT.
Good morning, Wilson. Thanks for coming up. I just had a couple of questions. Obviously, you know, the traffic DOT comments were discussed in, I guess, opposition and also addressed by the applicant. Can you kind of give us a summary or analysis of this area, specifically around where the area that's looking to be rezoned? And how that driveway access, what impact do you think that would make with what already exists?
So as it's proposed, yeah, I do have that comment in there to have a right-in, right-out, and that's to the proximity of Atlanta Road. So we've definitely encapsulated that for that right-in, right-out only. And then I guess you were also speaking to what was brought up earlier as far as those conditions?
So just to make sure I understand you correct, and I think from your comments there, you're saying that what is shown here in the drawing, which shows it shows where you could make a right or left, correct? We're suggesting that needs to be a right only.
Right-in, right-out only, yes, Commissioner.
Okay. And any additional comments around what the applicant brought up as far as the potential stop sign? I know that's a little bit different issue, but potential stop sign along the West Village Way, just because of a line of sight and being able to turn that corner there. Now we're introducing another entry point to that roadway. Any additional comments, thoughts, questions?
Yeah. Do you have that slide with the numbers on there? I tried to take notes. I didn't see it before.
Oh, sure, yeah.
A few minutes ago, so I think I do have got. Condition 1 for the stop. I don't think that's feasible. Just at a high level, I think what you'd have is backup queuing on Atlanta Road, and that would create a backup there. So at first glance, I don't think that would be something that could move forward with that condition. That stop sign would just, everybody would just start backing up there. So we're trying to keep that. That has been looked at in the past, and that's what we found. We could look at that again in plan review, but it could be something to be stipulated to be looked at plan review. I don't think that would warrant a stop sign there. So that was condition 1. Number 2 was recluding the driveway from the stop sign. Yeah, absolutely. That stipulation as final configuration of the driveway to be determined during plan review, and there would be some minor modifications to be able to best align the stop bar with where that driveway would be. And again, that driveway needs to be changed to right. I would recommend changing that driveway to right in, right out, so that configuration would have to be modified regardless. But that final alignment could be made during plan review to make sure it's the safest condition there. Where if the applicant wants to put in an ADA ramp, that's something we could, or is amenable to doing that, we could absolutely look at that at plan review. I don't think that location is optimal, but if that's something that they're amenable from the other side to have one installed, we could look at a placement, and if that's something that the developer would like to do, to put in that ADA crosswalk off of their property, and that can be done safely, we could absolutely look at that in plan review for approval of safe. It was number 4. Not me. That was number 5.
You want to speak to ours?
Reorient.
I think that might have been it.
Okay.
With DOT specific. So I think what I heard you say is that as far as the driveway or the exit or entry point that they're proposing, it would need to be right in, right out.
That's absolutely my recommendation and
Is your
already written.
recommendation. And then the stop sign or potential stop location there, you'd say you need to look at it further?
Number one, the condition number one, for that, adding a stop sign there,
Yes.
I'm happy to look into it. I don't think it's going to be warranted.
Mhm. And then also for, lastly, I think the other point was you need to look at the location specifically for a pedestrian walkway there, but that
It-
would be appropriate.
On a high-level glance, there might be an opportunity at the intersection near Pine Street, which is different than it's configured now. That's more of an off-site improvement, but again, if the developer would like to do that to appease all people, we could look at a potential. It looks like it might be safe to cross at Pine Street.
Okay. Any additional comments or questions for DOT? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you kindly.
Wilson. And opposition, if you don't mind, just come back up one more time.
If I may add some clarification to the discussion we just had.
Please speak
Because
into the
I think,
microphone. Thank you.
If I may add some clarification to the discussion we just had. The stop sign request is to be on West Atlanta Road, not for traffic coming off of South Atlanta Road turning onto West Atlanta Road, because the gentleman from DOT is absolutely correct. That would cause a horrible traffic jam. Right now, that intersection only has one stop sign, and that stop sign is located on West Village Way, which currently, the driveway that they're proposing goes straight through that stop sign, so it has to be modified. But the traffic coming south on West Atlanta Road does not stop or yield. So you've got traffic coming in from South Atlanta Road, West Village, you're adding right in, right out. Somebody's gonna have to stop in order to avoid a collision. So, with all due respect, the location of the stop sign we're requesting is on West Atlanta Road as it enters the intersection with West Village Way. So, then the other clarification, if I may add, on the location of the pedestrian crossing, the gentleman from DOT referenced maybe the corner of Pine Street. We have lobbied for that for a long time because that's a big connector street for the different components of the development. However, Pine Street is a major flow into the community, and traffic coming from South Atlanta Road onto Pine Street does not have a stop sign. And it cannot have a stop sign because it would cause tremendous backup on South Atlanta Road. So that corner is a cross at your own risk. When they built to elevate apartments, the pedestrian crossing had to be moved down on the more residential area of Pine Street. So there is a pedestrian crossing already connecting to West Village Way, but there is no pedestrian access to this development whatsoever from the community. There's a pedestrian crossing on South Atlanta Road, but that means that everybody would have to leave the community, go to South Atlanta Road, and then come into the property. And we all know that people like the shortest distance from their home to the property. So if DOT can work with the community and the applicant to find the safest crossing point on West Village Way, that would be fantastic. So, and if I also may counter the operations hours, currently businesses in West Village, we have lots of restaurants, retail, offices. Operation hours generally are 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. Two of the restaurants do stay open until 12 on Friday and Saturday, and that would be amenable to the community. That's kind of a community standard. We just want the business to be an inclusive part of the community and operate under those same hours. Now, the last thing that I wanted to state is that, yes, there is an existing site plan for the larger part of the lot. That site plan was configured as the zoning, part of the zoning for the elevated apartment complex. It was given very little thought. It was zoned for a bank drive-through, so we know that we're amenable to the drive-through. But perhaps in this, merging these two parcels, it makes a lot of sense to revisit that site plan and not restrict Cafe Racer to be exactly within that existing site plan if a better design could be configured that would both serve the community and the business. We're not asking them to, hamper their operations, but when Whataburger went through zoning or prepared for zoning, they reconfigured the existing site plan so it was inclusive, the two parcels together, and they were able to flip the operation with the grading challenges to move the driveway or the drive-through operation away from the residences. And outside of us not wanting the intensity of Whataburger, we also didn't want Whataburger as our flagship to the community. It's the main entrance to the community. Cafe Racer is proposing a beautiful restaurant that's going to look great, fits the community. We oppose the 24 hours and the intensity, but Whataburger did come to the table and work with the community to move drive-through operations away from the residences. And that 110 feet away from homes with early morning operations, stacking, even if you put in landscaping, the homes are at a higher elevation, so they look down on the driveway, on the drive-through. So we would really love for Cafe Racer to, I hate to say this, go back to the drawing plan and use their talented engineers to design a project that works for everybody.
Thank you very much. Any additional questions for opposition? Okay, thank you very much.
I have the handouts from the presentation. Would you like them for a copy? Because you've all been taking such diligent
You can leave them
notes.
for us. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am. Please.
Can I address a question to the county attorney, please?
Yes.
So this is a very broad discussion that included a site plan, but my review of the request before us is to rezone only 0.31 acres of a parcel and to assemble it with a larger parcel, not to be reviewing a site plan. Is that correct?
I mean, I believe the site plan is evidence, but the application is only to the acreage, the parcel in question. I think it's easy to start looking at other things and discussing other items that might pertain to ultimate use. But as to this planning commission's purview, it's just to make a recommendation as to that parcel in
To
question.
add that parcel to the PDC, to rezone that small parcel.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
And that's in the discretion of the planning commission of whether or not they would agree to that or recommend approval or denial. But the
Correct.
other issues are just merely collateral evidentiary
Thank
issues,
you.
but not as to the
I
question.
just wanted to know the scope, yeah.
No, thanks for defining that. I mean, I think, of course, this is unique because our scope is really just this small area here, this parcel, but it is very tied to the bigger, larger piece that we're talking about as far as Cafe Racer. So thanks for the discussion. I think it was good discussion because no matter what, you still want to make sure you get these things worked out in order for it to be successful in the community. So I would, yes. So I would say I'll make a motion for the purposes of discussion so that we can decide if we go that direction or not, but I'd make a motion to approve Z24 with the purposes of discussion.
For purposes of discussion, I'd love to add in the steps that were mentioned, but I want to be careful to not place stipulations that aren't feasible. So what I would say is I would want to add stipulations so that DOT has an appropriate amount of time to work with applicant to come up with some traffic solutions per the opposition and per what might come up in just regular planning. So just I would want some greater oversight to ensure that we are alleviating those traffic concerns and also creating the crosswalk for the community to be able to access, if possible.
Well, I would like to comment that I think that we could do that in terms of recommendations, but I don't think they could be stipulations because of this limited scope of the request. So if you wanted to call some things recommendations for consideration to the board, but with her main motion being to approve, I would be supportive of that.
So if you don't mind, just for clarity, restating what you consider recommendations again.
My recommendation would be for the applicant to work with DOT to come up with comparable solutions that alleviate traffic concerns after the merging of the two parcels, should it be approved.
Okay. Commissioner Bloin?
One more, just that it doesn't seem like there's any intent to operate all night, but I think the community deserves some assurances, and it just sounded like the only question was whether they wanted to operate till 11 p.m. or till midnight, and then at the other end, whether they would open at 5 or 6 might be a question. So at least we could probably restrict it such that there's that the restaurant not be open, including the drive-through not be open between the hours of midnight and 5 a.m. That would be like a safe restriction, I would think.
Or could we say subject to approval by the district commissioner, which would be less burdensome?
You just want to leave the hours of operation to the district commissioner, to be set by the district commissioner? I'm fine with either one.
And I would also say that, one of the key points that was made by the opposition was around, being included in understanding the plan. So I would also, I guess, add to the recommendations that the applicant work with the opposition in what is discussed with DOT, because they will, of course, have to live with that in and out and that traffic therefore. So I would add that to the recommendations. Anything else, any other discussion points? Okay.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a second from Commissioner Massey. Any further discussion? Okay, call the question. And Z24 passes with the recommendation stated in the motion. And that passes was, I'm sorry, Z24 is recommended for approval per the motion and recommendations that were attached to that motion. I believe that is it for our case. Is that correct, Mr. Peterson? At this time, we do need to approve the minutes for both the work session and our May zoning hearing. So I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve all applicable minutes.
Second.
We have a second from Commissioner Dance. Any discussion? Call the question. And the minutes are approved 4-0. All right, that concludes our June zoning hearing. Have a good rest of your day.